So before we move any further, I want to tell you that I'm doing a massive giveaway on this channel. Yes, this is the first giveaway that we are doing here, and it's all because because of the love and support that I've got from you all in the past few weeks. And I'm super happy to see this channel grow, and I thought of giving it back to my audience. So what is the giveaway? So I'm giving away 1 year free complimentary access to any JetBrains ID of your choice. Yes, the paid version of any JetBrains ID is what you will get for free for 1 year. Okay, and right now I'm here on the JetBrains website. So JetBrains, if you have been developing for a while, you would be aware of JetBrains. It's the company behind a lot of stuff. Okay, so like IntelliJ, they have things like PyCharm. These tools are really popular, right? And they have a lot more tools like PHP Storm and all if you're a PHP developer. So this is a pricing, and the winner will get any one ID of their choice for 1 year. Okay, and this will be a free complimentary access. They can make use of the pro version for their development needs. Now, of course, I believe like this would be really valuable to my audience because my audience is mostly developers, and a good ID when you are doing software development is all what makes the difference, right? And the pro versions of JetBrains ID like IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate or PyCharm Pro version, they all come with a lot more features that developer can use it for. Okay, and it makes your life really easy. So I would be giving away this to one winner. Okay, there will be one winner. I'll be picking the winner randomly. Okay, and I will be reaching out to them, and I'll be helping out with the next steps as to how they can redeem it. Okay, now one thing I would like to mention, or one thing you would ask, of course, how would you participate in this giveaway? So yes, you need to head over to the description and you will find a link which will enable you. It's a link of a form where I collect like a few details so that I can reach out to you, and you need to fill in that form, and that form will mark your participation in this giveaway. So be sure to enroll in, okay, and be sure to participate and leverage this opportunity. Okay, also I would be announcing the winners in the Telegram channel and also on the YouTube. So I would request you all that you should hit subscribe and turn on the bell notification icon if you're liking this. Okay, also be sure to join our Telegram community, is something that I would mention. Okay, because Telegram is where I stay connected to people, and Telegram is where I will be also putting in the names of the winner. Okay, so be sure to subscribe to Telegram as well. That would help a lot. Okay, and subscribing is really important, people. That means a lot, and it helps me bring more such amazing content for you all, right? And of course these kind of giveaways as well. So subscribers motivate me, and they motivate me enough to create so much for free, and also host such giveaways. All right, so yeah, what do you think about this giveaway? Let me know in the comment. Okay, I'll be reading all the comments. Let me know in the comment of the video as to what do you think about this giveaway. All right, so if I'll take a look at the entries, and if I decide to extend the date or prepone the closure of the giveaway, I would be putting all these details on my Telegram channel. So be sure to follow there as well. Okay, to get further updates. All right, so yeah, that's about it, and I won't take much time. Let's move forward. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this video, and I'm back with an amazing course on the most requested topic, Spring Security. Yes, you heard it right. A lot of people, a lot of viewers who are watching my videos, they used to comment repeatedly that, hey, when are you making a playlist or a course on Spring Security? I received quite a few emails as well, and I thought, okay, let's do it. Okay, so this is that course that will teach you everything about Spring Security from scratch, and yes, in my style, very hands-on way. Okay, so I, like, if you're watching my videos, you would know, like, I don't make use of a lot of PPTs. Okay, so in programming, I believe like it's important to learn things hands-on, And hands-on learning is the best learning that you as a software engineer can have. Okay, so I believe in hands-on learning, and that's what I do to my students as well. Okay, so this is going to be a very hands-on course. We are going to cover Spring Security, like I said, from scratch. And when I say from scratch, we are going to cover everything, like what happens when you add dependencies to your project. Okay, so there is a behavior change in your application. We are going to explore that. Okay, what is form-based authentication, and how can you make use of it? Then how can you write your own custom security filters? Well, if you're not aware of what security filters are, don't worry, I have all of this covered. We also talk about how Spring Security works, like how the entire mechanism. I explain this to you with the help of a nice diagram. We also then switch our application to in-memory authentication. Right, so in-memory authentication is a way wherein we start creating our users in memory, and then we switch to database-backed authentication, wherein our users move from in-memory to database. So that's something we cover, because these days database is very common, right? You would find an app that does not make use of database. And when it comes to securing your application, it's important that you store all your user credentials in the database. We are going to cover security aspects like hashing, and how can you store your passwords or user's password in an encrypted format and not in plain text format. So how can you encrypt them into a non-readable format? All of that I'm going to cover. And lastly, we are going to talk about JWT. So JWT authentication, what it is, and how can you make use of it. I'm going to explain everything to you in a step-by-step manner, line-by-line coding. Okay, that's what everybody says, line-by-line coding. So that's how this course is designed. And yes, we write code majority of the time. Okay, so every line that I write, everything that happens in the app, I explain it to you. That's how this stuff will go. Okay, so if this sounds exciting, okay, then you should hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed or turned on the bell notification icon, you should hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification icon, because that's how you can stay updated with the future courses or the upcoming courses that I'm going to post on this channel. There's a lot of awesome stuff cooking in, I'll tell you. And I'll be posting a lot in the next weeks, like the coming weeks, I should say. Coming weeks, coming months, a lot of content is coming in. Okay, so be sure to subscribe, stay updated. Your subscription also means like a support to me. So the number of subscribers, like, comments I get impact my ability to bring in more such amazing free content to you all on this platform for free. So subscribe and like is the least you can do to support creators like me. Okay, so yeah, that's about subscribing and liking. Also, if you're watching this far, then I would want to know you more. So who you are, where are you logging in, where are you watching this video from, basically, and what do you do currently, and what sort of courses would you want to see on this channel. So be sure to leave all this information in comment. I would love to read them. And let me tell you, like whatever comments you people leave, right, I read them personally, and I have a list of upcoming courses on this channel, or I will be working on. So that list is influenced by your comments. So you have a chance literally over here to influence that list. Okay, so if many people request a course like this Spring Security course, a lot of people requested. So I thought, okay, let's make a course on this. And yeah. So yeah, be sure to leave a comment. I would love to read your comments. Okay, so that's about this video and everything that we'll be talking. Without a further ado, let's jump right in and let's get started. Well, I know most of you want me to go hands-on directly and show some code, right? But to implement Spring Security into production grade applications, you need to understand some concepts that are important. And I'm going to talk about those concepts, because once you understand these concepts, then you will be ready to implement Spring Security into any of your Spring Boot applications. So please bear with me for a while. I'm also excited to teach you in a hands-on way. This is a hands-on course, of course, but yes, some concepts we need to touch upon, and for that we need to touch the slides. Okay, so First thing, I want you to know that security is important. Of course, you understand this, and that is why you are here watching this. Okay. Now, what is security? So security is securing something. Okay. And you have a house, right? You have doors, windows, you lock your door if you're out, right? Spring Security does something similar for your web application. It's like a sophisticated security system that you implement in your application, and that system ensures that only the right people can access certain parts of your application. And this helps you keep your data safe and sound. Okay. So in case of your home, why would you lock your door and windows when you're going out? Of course, so that no one can come in and access your personal things, right? Similar way, it works with your web application. Okay. And Spring Security helps you with that. All right. Now, if I have to talk about the importance of security, number one important thing is privacy protection. So just like you won't want strangers speaking through your windows, your users don't want unauthorized people seeing their personal information as well. Okay. So protecting user data prevents identity thefts and fraud. This is something that you need to understand. Trust. So if your house is known to be easily breakable, people will be wary of leaving their valuables with you, right? In a similar way, if an application is known to be insecure, users and client will not trust it with their data. Okay. So if you're building something, then having that credibility, having that trust is really important in the market. Integrity. Imagine someone sneaks into your house and replaces your important documents with the fake ones. Okay. So in the digital world, application security ensures that the data remains unchanged and trustworthy, preventing from unauthorized modification. Okay. Compliance. This is also important. So there are laws and regulations about building security in real world. Okay. And there are also legal requirements for data protection in digital world. So security helps ensure compliance with these laws, avoiding legal consequences. Okay. So this is the importance of security. Now, let's talk about role of Spring Security within the Spring ecosystem. So we have Spring Framework. It's like a foundation, like the structure of your house. Then you have Spring Boot, and it's a module that makes easy to set up and run Spring applications. It's kind of like having house built with all the utilities connected and ready to go, right? So there are a lot of features of Spring Boot like auto configuration and all that make your life a lot easier. Okay. Then you have Spring Data that help you manage data access. Okay. And then you have Spring Security. Okay. Now, Spring Security is a key player in the Spring ecosystem. It's a collection of tools and frameworks for building Java applications. And using Spring Security means that you're protecting your application's data like you would protect assets in a company safe or anything personal. Okay. So there are two important things that you need to understand when it comes to security and when also it comes to Spring Security. So number one is authentication. We will take a look at what authentication is. Okay. And then we'll talk about authorization. So most of the people I speak to, they get confused about these two terms. Okay. So I want some clarity around this first. And then when we head over to implementation, you will have a clear understanding as to what we are doing and why we are doing. Okay. So talking about authentication and authorization. Authentication. What is authentication? Authentication is proving who you are. Okay. So if you are going into a restaurant or if you're going into a hotel, okay, you'll have a security person or someone at the reception, whoever, who will ask you for your membership card or how you are entering, any sort of authentication that authenticates that you're allowed to enter. Okay. And showing that thing proves that you are a member, and that's the authentication that you do, right? In your computer, when you log in, you're entering your password, your username and password, or if you're using Mac or any other laptop which has a fingerprint scanner, you will scan your fingerprint, right? And it authenticates that it's you who are supposed to use the system and you are using the system. That's authentication. What is authorization? Authorization is about what you're allowed to do after you have proven who you are, right? So you have proven who you are. Now, if you enter a hotel, okay, you enter as someone, right? You show the identity card and you are allowed to enter. You enter.
But now you might not be allowed to enter every place of the hotel, right? You might be allowed to access certain rooms or certain facilities, and there will be specific permissions that will be with you. Okay, you cannot enter, for example, a security zone. You cannot enter a particular area, or you cannot enter someone else's room. You are not authorized to go there, right? You're authorized to use your own room. So that is nothing but authorization. Okay. And in a computer system, authorization decides what actions you can take after you have logged in. Okay. So let me reiterate over here. Okay. What is authentication? Authentication is like you are entering your username and password. Okay. You enter your username and password, you get access to the system. Okay. What is authorization? With authorization, okay, so if you are having an application, you're going to have roles, right? So user A will be allowed to do a certain thing. User B will be allowed to do a certain thing, okay? User C cannot delete a certain thing, okay? So this authorization, so you authenticate user A, okay? User A will enter username and password and he'll say, all right, I'm user A. So he's given access to the system. Now, after getting the access, he cannot delete a particular record. That's authorization. Okay. So stopping him to delete a particular record is authorization. Okay. So there are two aspects of security over here that you need to understand. Authentication. Authentication is gaining access and it's proving who you are. Authorization is about what you are allowed to do after you are proven who you are. Okay. So in a sense, as a developer, you need to implement authentication in your application, and you also need to control the authorization. Okay. So if you are implementing something, if you're building a simple application and if you don't need authorization, like everybody is allowed to access everything, that's absolutely fine. Authentication is what you need to deal with. But normally in every application that at least I have seen, authorization is really important. Okay. So there will be an admin. So if you're building an e-commerce store, there will be an admin, right? Who can create products, who can view orders, who can view customers' phone number. There will be a customer support executive who cannot view the revenue, who cannot like create a product, right? He can view the support tickets, right? So that's authorization. All right. So this is something that you need to understand. Now let's talk about some key security principles. Okay. First principle is least privilege. Okay. So users and processes should have the minimum level of access or permissions that you should assign to perform the necessary task. Okay. So whenever you are assigning something to anyone, make sure you give them the least level of privilege to complete the task. Okay. Secure by design. Now, what does this mean? So security consideration should be integrated into the design phase of software development rather than adding it as an afterthought. Okay. So what happens is, I'll tell you, normally we developers, we get requirements from someone in the company, like let's say a manager or a product owner, someone, depending on how your hierarchy is designed. Okay. Security is not given a thought at that time. Okay. So whatever requirements you're getting from the client or whoever, okay, he's going to give you all the functionality he wishes to have, right? People normally don't mention security as an aspect. Okay. It has to be considered by default by you as a developer. Okay. And you have to think of security into the design phase itself. So when you're designing your application, thinking about different components, you have to think of security. That's the best approach. Okay. Normally what happens is developers build the system and then they implement the security and then they start thinking about security. Okay. So this is not good, but it has to be secure by design. Okay. Fail-safe defaults. So systems should be designed with secure defaults, meaning they should operate securely out of the box without requiring additional configuration. Secure communication. So whatever communication you're doing, transmitting data over the network, it should be encrypted and you should prevent any interception over there. Okay. And it's essential that you protect all the secure information that you are transmitting. Input validation. So all the input data from the external APIs and everything should be validated to prevent any sort of attacks like SQL injection and so on. Okay. This is also important. Auditing and logging. So you should have logging and auditing mechanisms to record the events related to security and all the actions that are being performed in your system. So normally what happens is there is a separate logging module that is built in if you see or you work in a production grade environment. So logging module, what logging module will do is who is doing what in the system, that is being logged into a separate table. Okay. So for example, if you're an admin and if you're creating a product, changing access roles, so all of that is being logged. Okay. That this user at this time, he did these things. So that whenever there are any security incidents later on or any sort of breaches, so team can then investigate as to what happened and what led to this breach. Okay. So this is one aspect. Regular updates and patch management. This is important. So you need to keep software dependencies, libraries, frameworks up to date with latest security patches and fixes. Because in the latest updates, normally the latest vulnerabilities or the new vulnerabilities have been fixed. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. All right. So this is about some of the key security principles that you should be aware of.
Hey there, welcome to this video. And in this particular video, we are going to talk about how Spring Security works. Now, if you're new to this channel and if you're not aware, this video is a part of a complete series on Spring Security. Well, it's a series wherein I cover Spring Security in a very hands-on way. Okay, you can find the link to the entire playlist in the description below, where you'll find the videos before this video and after this video. Okay, so you can watch the entire playlist. Also, if you're new, I would highly encourage you all to subscribe to this particular channel and turn on the bell notification icons, because that's the way using which you can stay connected with me and you can get notified as to when I upload or bring in any such new course or any such new video. Okay, so be sure to do that. Also, talking about this video now, in this particular video, we are going to talk about how Spring Security works. Now, if you integrate Spring Security into your project, there are a lot of things that happen in the hindsight. Okay, there are a lot of components that Spring Security has. Okay, and all of these components work together to secure your application. And it's really important that you understand what these components are, how you can make use of them, and what does each component do in the entire process. Okay, so all these things are really important. Okay, and do watch this video till the very end, because there is lots of valuable knowledge that you are going to gain from this. All right, so yeah, that's about what we are going to cover. Also, if you're watching this video, so do leave a comment right now and let me know where you're joining in from, what's a good name, what do you do currently, and let me know what sort of videos I should be bringing in for you all. Okay, so that's something that I would be expecting, and I would be reading the comments personally. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump right in. Thank you.
Hey there. So it's time that we talk about how Spring Security works. So in a normal Spring Boot application, you will have your controllers over here and you will have requests coming in and response going out. Okay. So this is the entire diagram that explains the working of Spring Security. Don't get overwhelmed by the diagram. It's actually simple. I'll break it down for you. Okay. So like I was saying, you have controllers here. Okay. And you have request and response going out. Okay. Request coming in, response going out. Now, when your request comes in, it first goes through a series of filters over here. Okay. So here you have filters. This is one filter, second filter, third filter, so on. There are many filters, okay, depending on what you have configured. Okay. And your request has to go through this series of filters known as filter chain, and then it reaches the controller. Okay. And controller is where your actual application code resides. Okay. Now, these filters have a specific job related to their own configuration. Okay. And if you have Spring Security configured, then you will have a filter called as authentication filter. Okay. So without security, you will also have filters exist in your application, but these won't be the security related filters. Okay. But when you configure security, you will have some filters added, which will be the security related filters. Okay. And one of these security related filters, like I said, is authentication filter over here. Okay. Now, what is authentication filter? So authentication filter will be intercepting the requests that are meant to do login. Okay, so there are login requests, and these requests will contain username and password or any sort of authentication information that needs to be validated. All right. So far, what are filters? Filters are nothing but some code, okay, that reside before the controller, and your request has to pass through it. Okay, they will intercept your request for some sort of processing. And you have authentication filter if you have Spring Security configured in your project. Okay, what does authentication filter do? Authentication filter will intercept the authentication requests, and what it will do is it will grab the username and password and create authentication object from them. Okay, and this object is basically a way to package the credentials. Okay, so first the authentication object is created. Okay, because everything within security works in the form of the authentication object. So that object is important first. Okay, and that is being created here. Once the object is being created, the object is being handed over to the authentication manager over here. Okay, now authentication manager is someone who decides what to do with these credentials. Okay, so what this authentication manager will do is it will delegate this task, okay, of authenticating the user to someone else. Okay, so authentication manager, like I said, it decides what to do with these credentials. Okay, and it will say that, hey, what should I do with the credential? I should authenticate. Now, to authenticate whoever has sent this request, I need a authentication provider. Okay, so authentication manager decides that, hey, he needs to authenticate, and for that he'll need a authentication provider. Now, authentication provider, what is authentication provider? So authentication provider is someone who is responsible for checking whether the given username and password or whether the given credentials are correct or not. Okay, and for authentication provider to validate the credentials, it needs two things. One is password encoder, and then it needs user details service. So we'll talk about each one of them. So we'll talk about password encoder first. Okay, what is password encoder? So what happens is whenever the password is passed in, or whenever the user credentials are passed in, okay, they are always encoded, right? They will be encoded using some form of encryption, right? And to decrypt the password, you need to do some sort of like processing over there. And that is what password encoder helps you with. Okay, so it helps you encode the entered password, and it will help authentication provider with the same, so that authentication provider can take care of the rest. Okay, so this is about password encoder. Okay, and what is user details service? So this is called by the authentication provider to load the user details, and it can call methods like load by username and all, and it will load the details like username, password, and what all roles does this user have in the system. Okay, and it will load it from a source of data. Okay, so if your data is being stored in the database, it will load it from there. Okay, and what happens is this particular service will load the user information. Okay, and it will return this particular information, which includes everything that system needs to know about the user, including their stored passwords, roles, and all. Okay, it will get this user object and it will convert this object into user detail object. Okay, so the object that is returned by user detail service is user detail object. All right, and then this particular thing over here, authentication provider, will have the user details. So authentication provider will confirm if the username and password are correct. Okay, and once it is validated that the username password are correct, it will create a complete authentication object. Okay, so authentication object earlier that existed, which was created by the authentication filter, that might not have some information like roles and all. Okay, so once the authentication is successful and it's confirmed by the authentication provider, the authentication object is populated with more details like roles and all. Okay, and then this object is handed over back to the authentication manager here, that hey, This is the object, updated object, and this is the user that you wish to authenticate, and this user has been authenticated. Okay. Then this object is returned to authentication filter, and then the security context is set. Okay. So what is security context? So security context is a sort of context that is available throughout the duration of the request. Okay. So it's a context wherein the information about the authentication is stored. So where does the detail of the authenticated object reside now? It resides in the authentication object, right? So this authentication object was created by filter, and the more details were populated by authentication provider. So then this object is set into security context, and it will be available throughout the request. Okay. And throughout the request, this object is referred as to what the user is allowed to do in the system and what it's not allowed to do in the system. Okay, so like I mentioned that when the authentication is being done, the authentication object is being populated with what? With roles, right? And these roles are being used by the application to dictate as to what the user is allowed to do and what the user is not allowed to do. Okay, so this is how the entire flow works. Okay, here how the flow works is, if I have to reiterate, you as a user enter the username and password. Okay, and it goes through a series of filter chains over here. Okay, filters over here, and one filter will be authentication filter. Okay, and then an authentication object is created here. Okay, authentication manager takes this object and asks authentication provider to verify it. Okay, then authentication provider will use user detail service and password encoder to fetch your details, and password encoder will compare the passwords and everything. If everything matches, okay, the authentication provider will confirm, and your details are saved in the authentication object. Like the authentication object is updated with the rules and all, and the security context will be populated with the authentication object. And then you are allowed to access the controller, and the code executes, and during the request, this context is referred as to what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. Okay, so I hope this is making sense. Now, when we talk about authentication provider, here I've mentioned DAO authentication provider. Okay, so this is one of the common authentication providers used, and this is used when you wish to validate the users against a database. Okay, so normally you have a database where the user details are stored, and if you want to do that, you can make use of DAO authentication provider. Okay, and it relies on this particular service here, user details service, to fetch the user details and then compare it with the provided credentials against these details. Okay, so this is one kind of provider, but there are many providers. Like in-memory authentication provider is one of the providers. Okay, so if you're storing your data into memory and not in the database, okay, then you can make use of in-memory authentication provider. There is LDAP authentication provider. Okay, LDAP, if you're aware of, lightweight directory access protocol. Okay, so if you wish to integrate LDAP security, then you have to make use of that provider. You have JDBC authentication provider. Okay, so there are a few authentication providers that exist. So depending on where your user details are coming from or where they are stored, you will use the appropriate authentication provider. Okay, and you can see the methods over here. So authentication manager will call the authenticate method. Okay, you have matches method to match the password, load by username. These are all methods, find by username. Okay, these are all methods that exist that are called by the respective components. Okay, so this is about the overview of Spring Security. One crucial thing to remember over here is the concept of filters over here. So you're going to see filter, authentication manager, authentication provider, password encoder, user detail service, all of this in the code. Okay, so it's important that you understand these and the roles. And if you still have any confusion, don't worry. Everything will be clear once we start coding things. Okay, but it's important that you understand the concepts at a high level. So that's about the working of Spring Security. I hope this was useful.
Hello everyone, welcome to this video, and in this particular video we are going to take our Spring Security playlist one step further. So what are we going to cover? We are going to get started and we are going to configure a project with Spring Security. We are going to understand the default behavior of Spring Security and how the auto configuration magic comes into place, and we are going to explore form-based authentication. So if you are new to this channel and if you're watching my video for the first time, then head over to the description, because this video is a part of a complete playlist on Spring Security. And we are learning about Spring Security right from scratch till the very end. Okay, so be sure to check out the playlist to get access to the earlier videos and also the videos that are coming after this one. Okay. That's something that you should do if you are new. And also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, then hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon, because that's how you'll stay updated as to what I am up to on this channel. Okay, so there are a lot of free stuff and a lot of videos that are coming up, and if you like to stay updated, then you should subscribe. Talking about this video now, so like I said, we are going to configure a project with Spring Security, and we are going to see the auto configuration mechanism of Spring Boot in action. So you'll see how the auto configuration mechanism comes into place and how there are a lot of default stuff that are already built in. Basically, you will see all the entire magic of auto configuration and the benefit of using Spring Boot. Okay, so we'll explore the default stuff and how we get a lot of things without even writing a single piece of code. Okay, so it's going to be really exciting, and this is completely hands-on. All right, and also we are going to explore the form-based authentication in Spring Security. Okay, we are going to understand what it is and how it works and how you can make use of it. Okay, so this is something that we are going to cover, and stick till the very end, because there is a lot of knowledge that is packed into this video. Okay, and be sure to follow along as well. Also, if you have watched this video so far, then I would want you all to comment below and let me know who you are, what's your name, what are you doing currently, where are you joining from, and what kind of videos you wish to see on this particular channel for free. So there are lots of courses that are planned on this channel, and I plan to upload them sequentially. But yeah, do comment and you have an opportunity to influence my upcoming set of videos over there. Okay, because I'll tell you, I read all the comments personally, and all the feedback or request is taken into consideration. Okay, and the next set of videos are planned based on user request as well. Okay, you have a chance over here to influence that list that has the upcoming set of videos. All right, so yeah, I won't take much time. Without a further ado, let's jump right in and let's get started.
So now it's finally time that we go hands-on with Spring Security. And to go hands-on, we need to head over where? We need to head over to our favorite website, which is start.spring.io. I'll select Maven. I'll select the required Spring Boot version, and we can have security added over here. Security demo, something like this. Okay. And this I'll call basic com dot, or I'll say example. Okay, I'll just keep it example. Okay, you can keep it whatever you want. All right, I'll add a dependency. I'll add web dependency. Okay, and I'll just generate the source code. So download the source code and open it in IntelliJ. So I have this project open here in IntelliJ. Okay, and here I have the entire project structure loaded, and I have the web dependency in the pom.xml. Okay, so far so good. Now what I will do is I will quickly come over here. I'll create a Java class and I'll create a controller, very simple controller, greetings controller. Okay, and here I'm going to have this defined as a REST controller. Okay, and here I'm going to say public void, or I don't need void, I'll say string, and I'll say hello over here. Okay, and what this is going to do is this is going to return hello over here. Okay, a very simple endpoint, okay, people. And here, what I can do is I need to add a endpoint over here, right? So what I can do is let me add a hello endpoint. So I'll say get, this has to be get, and I'll say /hello. Okay, we are done. Let me run this application. So I'll run this, okay. And you can see the application is up and running, okay. Now what I will do is I will switch over to my browser, okay, here, okay, and I'll say localhost 8080 and I'm going to say hello here. You can see hello as the response. So this is a default behavior, right? Now let us add security into our project and let us see what happens. So far we are able to access our endpoint from the browser, right? There are no issues as such. Now here I'll say add dependencies. I'll say security. So you can see this dependency over here, okay? You can see like this is the official one, okay? And you can read about this. It's highly customizable, okay? Authentication and access control framework for Spring-based applications, okay? It integrates seamlessly with Spring Boot, okay? And it enables you to add security features into your Spring Boot application very easily. Also, there is a great deal of auto configuration involved. Okay, this is something that you're just going to experience in minutes. Okay, so you can head over to like explore, and here you're going to see this particular dependency here. Okay, you can see like Spring Boot starter security, and here you can see Spring Boot security tests. So this is the same actually pom.xml here. What I can do is I can actually copy this pom.xml and I can come here and I can actually replace it over here, something like this. Okay. Now, if there are any changes into pom.xml, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to reload the Maven changes. Okay. Because you need all the fresh dependencies come in, and you should see some security related dependencies come in over here. Okay. So, okay. Here you can see security. So all this has come in. Okay. So it's done. Now let me rerun the application. So our application is running. Okay, you can see it's up and running. And now let us try to access the API. Let me hit refresh. Okay, I had zoomed in, so it just showed me this big login page. So this is a login page and it's asking me to log in. I didn't go to login. I had just typed in my endpoint here. Hello. You can see it's redirecting me to login. All right. So this is the default behavior that happens when you integrate Spring Security into your project. Okay. So this is the default behavior of Spring Security. Okay. This is something that we have not configured. We have just configured Spring Security and we see this. So now it's time that we talk about the default behavior and understand what it is. So if we access the endpoint over here, so I'm entering hello, you'll be automatically taken to a login form. And this is a form that is asking me to sign in. Now, where do I get these credentials for? Okay, so I'm understanding one thing, that after integrating Spring Security, so integrating as in I have just added the dependencies. And after doing that, I'm straight away being shown this particular form. So the endpoints are protected or secure, I should say, which earlier they were not. They were open and anybody on the internet could have access those URLs. And now we are being presented with a form. And the best part about this form is we have not built it. Okay, this is an inbuilt form that is coming in. All right. And what we need to do is we need to figure out how we log in. So I'll come over to IntelliJ. I'll open my run console and let us take a look over here. Okay. So here, if you scroll up, you'll see something called as using generated security password. And this is a password that is being printed onto the console. Okay. So you can see this password is being generated for development use only. And if you're pushing this code to production, your security configuration must be updated. So I'll copy this password over here. Okay. And this is a password that you will make use of to log in into the form over here. Okay. And if you scroll up a little bit, okay, you'll see a lot of other logs over here, which we'll talk about shortly. Okay, so let's come over here. What I'll say is I'll enter a username. Now, what is the username? Username is user by default over here. Okay, this is an default user that has been created for us, and I'll paste the password over here. And let me say sign in. Now, the moment I say sign in, you'll see hello being printed, and now we have the API working. Okay, so you can see how this was protected behind a login wall. Okay, and if you come over here, okay, so if you go through the logs over here, there is a lot happening. Okay, so we started the application. Okay, you see the application has been started until here, and here you'll see default security filter chain. Okay, will secure any request with. So you can see all of this filter chain over here. You can see different filters, logout filter, CSRF filter. So these are all different filters that are coming into play. Okay, and you are seeing some logs around them. And this indicates that there are some filters that have been made available by default. Okay, and they are coming in from the security dependency that we have added. So you can see security everywhere, right? So that is what is happening right now. Okay, and we also have a default user to whom we have access, and this is what the password for the same is. Okay, now if I restart the application, I'll show you something. If you scroll up over here, okay, this password changes. Okay, so this password changes with every restart. Okay, and this is something that you are supposed to know over here. Okay, now a question you might ask is, here I have logged in, right? Now if I wish to unauthenticate myself, what do I do? Okay, so first of all, let me do a refresh. I'll be presented with the form again because I restarted the application and the password has changed. Okay, I'll come over here and I'll paste it. I'll say sign in. Oops, I got an error. So probably it's not getting copied properly. Here I'll say user and I'll paste the password. Okay, so this worked. All right. Now, if I want to log out, I have an access to a logout page as well. Okay, which is like very awesome. Okay, so if you just go to your local host, like your URL/logout, you're going to be presented with this form. Are you sure you want to log out? And you can say log out over here and you will be signed out of the application. Okay, so this is something that you need to understand. Okay, and there are a few observations that you need to remember over here or you need to make. Okay, number one is all the endpoints or everything is authenticated. So if you add more endpoints to your application, if you have just added Spring Security and you have multiple endpoints, everything is secure. Okay, everything is authenticated. This is observation number one. Okay, the default authentication is form-based authentication. So this is a default authentication that is in place. Okay, and as you can see, this is a form-based authentication, which means that this authentication works with the help of a form. And this form is an inbuilt form. This is something that we have not created. Okay, so this is observation number two. Observation number three is that we have been given access to inbuilt forms like this one, the login one, and the logout one. This is something that we have not created. Okay, so this is observation number three. Observation number four over here is we also have access to a default user or a test user, I should say, which is created by default with a default username and password like this. Okay, so this is observation number four. And observation number five is you get access to a default password on the console as well. Okay, and this is auto-generated password over here. Okay, and if you try to access the URL over here, you're being presented with this form wherein you need to enter the credentials that you have and you get access to the application. Okay, also if you inspect the headers, so if you right click, if you say inspect, so right now I'm on Chrome and I'm making use of Chrome developer tools. If you go to network over here, you should be able to see all the requests that are happening. Okay, so let me show this to you. So I'll copy the password again here, this one. I'll come over here, I'll say user and I'll paste the password. And here you should see the request that is happening with all the details. So if I sign in, you'll see, okay, so I should access hello over here. Okay, but what happened is I just went to login and there was no redirect. So that is why I'm getting this error. Okay, which is fine. We'll ignore this, but we just want to see the login request over here. Okay, so you can see over here, you have /login, but the status code is 302. Okay, so I wanted to show you the status code of 200, but no problem. Let me show this to you again. So I'll just go to logout. I'll say logout. All right. I'll just go to hello or again over here. Okay. So just go to hello and you'll be presented with this login page. Okay. I'll clear everything over here on the console by hitting this button, and I'll say user and the password, and I'll say sign in. You should see hello over here. Okay. And you can see login over here. Okay. So this is 302 because we are being redirected. Okay. So you won't get 200 over here. This is 302. All right. And here, if you scroll down, you can see everything. Okay. You can see the response over here. Okay. Here, there is no response. Okay. Because you were redirected over here. Okay. But you can see over here, this is the login request. Okay. And you are seeing post over here. And if you scroll down here, you're going to see few response headers as well over here. Okay. Some headers which says X content type options, no sniff. So these are all the security related options that have been set by default for you. Okay. And of course, if you go to hello API call over here, okay, you will see 200. Okay. So on login, you will get 302 redirect, and over here you will see 200. Okay. All right. So this is about the default behavior. Okay. And this is how Spring Security dependency or adding Spring Security into your application. This is what the impact you see in your application. So I hope this was useful. So we do have access to a automatic generated user password over here. All right. And we are using this for our login over here, right? But this password is not static. It changes on every application restart. So one way to fix this particular password, so you don't want to have a new password every time you rerun your application. So to fix it, you can add a property. So what you can do is you can head over to system, you can head over to application properties, not system properties. And here you can add a property. You can say spring.security. So since this is related to Spring Security, you can say user.password, something like this. Okay. And here you can add the password. So I can say demo@123, something like this. Okay. And now when I restart, let me see. So you can see there is no default password that is being printed right now. You can see over here. Okay. There is no default password. All right. And this is because we have added a password ourselves. Okay. So what I would do is I would head over to hello here, something like this. And I will say user and I'll say demo@123. And I'll say sign in, and you can see this is the password that we used to log in. So this way you can like fix your password. Okay. And you can even add a username if you wish to. Okay. So you can come over here. You can say spring.security.username, something like this. And you can say username is admin. All right. And you can rerun the application, and you can come over here. You can like head over to hello, and you will be asked for login information. You can say admin, and you can say demo@123. You can see. So this way you can configure one username and one password from the application properties. Please note, this is not the production ready way to do things. This is good for development purpose. Okay. Because here you are hard coding the password of the users. You're hard coding the username in the code base itself, which is not actually what you would want to do in a production grade environments. But this is how you can save yourself from copying the automatic generated password every time. All right.
Hey there everyone, welcome to this video, and this video is a step forward in our Spring Security playlist that we have been doing on this channel. Okay, so the goal here is to learn Spring Security right from scratch in a very hands-on and a practical way. Okay, and that's what we are doing. And if you're watching my video for the first time, or if you're new to this particular channel, then you should be aware that there are a few videos that are uploaded just before this one, and you can get access to all of them right in the description. So head over to the description, and there you will find a link to the playlist. Okay, and that playlist has all the videos, like a set of videos before this one and after this one. So be sure to access that, okay? And also, if you wish to stay updated with more such amazing content from myself, you should hit the subscribe button there, and you should also turn on the bell notification icon, okay? So that's how you can stay updated, and of course that's how you can support me or creators like me. That's the least you can do, okay? Because number of subscribers is what impacts my ability to bring in more such amazing free content for you all, and also to continue uploading videos on this platform, okay? If you wish to see more videos coming up, or if you wish to motivate me to upload free stuff, you should hit subscribe, okay? So talking about this video, we are going to cover basic authentication, okay? So what we are going to do is we are going to learn how you can write your own set of security filters. Yes, I'll take you step by step, okay? And don't worry, when I say we are going to write our own security filters, it sounds overwhelming, but it's actually not. I'll take you step by step as to how you can write your own security filter, and we'll understand everything line by line, okay? And we are going to understand and experience what is basic authentication, how is it different from form-based authentication. We are also going to see how you can access secure APIs using Postman, like tools like Postman and all, which you always use when you work with APIs. Okay, so all of this we are going to cover in this video. Be sure to stick till the very end, because there is a lot of stuff that's packed in, okay, and everything is hands-on, okay, very minimal user slides like always, okay. So yeah, that's about this video. Also, if you have been watching this video so far, be sure to leave a comment below. Let me know who you are, where you are joining in from, what are you doing currently, and what sort of videos you wish to see on my channel, okay? Because whatever videos I plan, I normally take a look at the user requests or the comments that I get and what viewers want to see. So you have an opportunity here to influence my upcoming list of videos there, okay? So be sure to comment, and yeah, without a further ado, let's jump right in and let's get started with this video.
So right now we have a form-based authentication enabled by default. And what I mean by form-based authentication is we have a form in place that is being used to authenticate the users, all right? But if you're working with REST API, form is not what would work for you, right? So in REST API, you don't have an interface, and you would typically be making use of tools like Postman, right? So there is one more way of authenticating users that is different from form-based authentication. It is known as basic authentication, okay? Basic, as the name suggests, is the basic way of authenticating users with the help of username and password. So let us see how can we configure our Spring Boot project to enable basic authentication. So what we will be doing is we will be first checking the code for our default authentication method. Okay, so what I'm going to do is here on IntelliJ, I'm going to enter shift 2 times, and I'm going to search over here for a file, Spring Boot Web Security Configuration. So you will see this particular class over here. Okay, Web Security Configuration. Okay, this is an inbuilt class that is coming in from, you can see, Spring Framework Boot Auto Configure Security.Servlet. Okay, and if you're not able to see this over here, like the internal inbuilt classes, okay, what I would request you all is you should go over here in File, you should select Settings, and over here, so we will have to go to Build over here, and there is a option for Maven. So Maven option you'll find under Build Tools, and over here you can select Maven, and here you select importing. So here if you select importing, you're going to see these 3 options. So you can enable these 3. Okay. So what this will do is it will automatically download the sources, documentation, and annotations for all the libraries or dependencies that you are adding. Okay, so if you're not seeing for some reason, you should be able to see after you enable this option. All right, so this is there, and I was anyway seeing this information here. You can head over to this particular class. Okay, so this is an inbuilt class. All right, and this is where you will find some source code written, and this is the class that has the method which has the source code for the default authentication method. So you can see over here, this is the default configuration, and this is how we are authenticated in a default way. So you can see over here, we have HTTP form login. By default, we have the basic authentication enabled over here. Okay. So over here, for some reason, I'm not seeing the comments appear over here. So what I will do is I'll do a Maven reload one more time. Okay. And let us see if we see the comments appear over here. Okay. So you can see over here, it's downloading Maven library sources and documentation. This will take a little bit of time, okay, but it will automatically be downloaded and it will automatically index it and show it to you, okay. But if for some reason we are not able to see, we are good then too, okay. But you can see over here, I'm able to see this over here. So after changing that setting in the preferences, I have the documentation also being added over here, okay, and code is much more readable now, right? So you can see over here you have access to the documentation. So it says this configuration that you're seeing here, this over here, okay, this is the default configuration for web security, okay, and it relies on the Spring Security's content negotiation strategies to determine what sort of authentication to use, okay. So here, you as a user, you can see over here, you as a user can specify your own security filter chain bean, okay. So we know the concept of security filters. So you as a user have the ability to define your own security filter, right? And how you have to do it, you have to create your own bean over here, okay. And once you define that, this particular code won't be used. This is a default one, because if the user has not defined his own bean or his own way to authenticate users, then this one will be used. So it says clearly over here, this will be completely backed off, and users should specify all the bits that they want to configure as a part of custom security configuration. So I hope this is clear, okay. Let me explain this code over here. So this is a short code that is written here, okay. And as you can see here, this is the default security filter chain. It is taking in HTTP security as a parameter over here, okay. And what it is doing over here is, first line, if you see, it is saying authorize HTTP request, okay. And here, as a parameter, it says authenticate any request that is coming to the application. So any request that comes to the application is authenticated by default, okay. This is a default behavior, right? And this is what we saw. Any API or any endpoint you try to access, it is authenticated by default, right? Second thing says that there is a form-based login that is enabled with default configuration here, all right? And then there is also basic authentication that is enabled with default, okay? So form login is for web. So like we were accessing the API, right, from the web by entering the URL over here, right? So we were seeing the form-based authentication here. But if you try to access it from somewhere where there is no interface, like for example, tools like Postman. Postman does not have an interface to see the UI, right? You have to just call the API. So in that particular case, HTTP basic authentication will be used, okay? That is something that will be used, okay? And here, what we are doing is we are returning the HTTP build object, all right? So this is the default configuration, and as you can see, this is a bean over here, okay? So what we are going to do is we are going to enable HTTP basic authentication only. We don't need form authentication. Let's take a look at what basic authentication looks like, okay? So what I'm going to do is we need to write our own filter, because we don't want the default security filter, okay? We wish to use our own filter because we are now customizing it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to copy this code here like this, okay? And here, if you scroll up, you'll see few annotations like configuration. This is a configuration thing, okay? What I'll do is I'll come over here in my project, okay? Here, I'm going to say security config, something like this, okay? And I'll close this. And here, what we need to do is we need to paste the code that we have copied, okay? So I'll paste this here. The moment you paste this, you'll see all the imports also come in over here, okay? This is done. Now what we need to do is we need to mark this thing as a bean, okay? Because if you read over here, if the user specifies their own security filter chain bean, so you need to like create your own security filter chain bean. So this is our bean, okay? And we need to have a couple of annotations on this class as well. So first is you need to say that this is a configuration class because you are specifying security configurations over here, custom security configuration. So you need to treat this as a configuration class. And then over here, you're going to say enable web security. Okay, this is another annotation that you will be making use of. Okay, and this annotation is being used to specify that here you have like security being enabled over here. Okay, and what I will do is let us run this and let us see what the behavior looks like. Or wait a minute, let me cancel this. I said we are going to enable basic authentication only, right? So we don't need this line, form authentication. Okay, so I'll just disable this. Let us see what basic authentication looks like. Okay, and this is our custom security config. This is done. If you come over here, let me go to hello. Here, you can see the form is gone now and you are now being shown an alert box. Okay, you're now being shown an alert box and you can enter your same credentials, admin and demo @123, and you can say sign in and you should be able to sign in. You can see over here. You can log out. Let us see. You cannot. There is no way for you to log out. Okay. So what you will have to do is you will have to close this session here. You'll have to restart the browser here, something like this. And you'll have to go over here again. And you'll be presented with this. Okay. So what I would do is I'll go over to inspect over here and you can see everything in the network tab. So I'll refresh. You can say admin and here you can say demo @123. You're seeing hello over here. You can see, and this is done over here, right? So you can see how this particular thing worked. Okay, and these are the headers. You can even see a header over here called authorization. Okay, this is something that we'll be understanding. But for now, yes, this is working perfectly fine. And what we have done is we have created our own custom security filter over here. Let me explain this code to you all line by line. Okay, so the first line is about an annotation configuration. So this annotation tells Spring that this class provides configuration to the application context. Okay, we have enable web security. This annotation tells Spring Boot to enable web security features in the application. Okay, and it gives us the liberty wherein using this particular class, we are able to customize the security configuration. So that is what this annotation does. We have bean annotation to mark this as bean. Okay, and this annotation will make sure that this is available as a bean provider. Okay, so if you go inside, okay, here you have this first line, okay, which says that any object, or sorry, not any object, any request that the application gets is authenticated by default. So we have not modified this. This is the default behavior and this is what you are also taking it forward. Okay, then you have this line wherein you are saying HTTP basic with defaults, and this line configures basic authentication and it specifies that Spring Security should use HTTP basic authentication with default settings. Okay, and then we are returning the, you can see over here, we are returning the HTTP security object. So if you hover on this, you should see the object over here. Okay, one second. So security filter chain is the object type. So we are returning the object of type security filter chain, as you can see over here. Okay, so this is what the code looks like, and here is how you can customize the Spring Boot security. All right, you can see how easy it was. We just took the default mechanism and we modified the code a bit to enable basic authentication into our application. So now it's time that we talk about form-based versus basic authentication. All right, so right now we have basic authentication enabled, and if you like access the URL, you're going to see this output. So the first difference is between basic and form is if you try to access login over here, okay, you're not going to see the default login page over here because we have said goodbye to form-based authentication, right? So there is no by default form that is incorporated, okay. There is no logout as well, okay. So there's no logout over here. No logout, you'll get an error. How do you log out? So if you want to access the API, you can access, okay. And if I want to log out, I have to just close this session, okay. I close the browser, I restart the browser, and I try to access the browser again, I'll be presented with the login form, or not the login form, I should say login pop-up over here, which is like an in-browser alert over here. All right. Now, let us take a look at basic authentication. Okay, so I'll say cancel over here. Okay, I'll go to inspect and I'll go to network over here, and we'll observe what happens when you log in via a basic authentication method. So I'll say refresh. You'll be asked for credentials. I'll enter my credentials. Okay. The moment I enter, I get hello over here. Okay. So this is the request that went through, and you can see this is the request. I get 200 OK. If you scroll down over here, okay, you have some headers being set over here, security related. You scroll over here, you have the authorization information being encoded in the header. You can see this encoding over here. Okay, it says authorization : basic, and then you have some encrypted value over here. So this is the authorization information that is going through the request over here, right? Then you have some cookie related information. Okay, so what happens is you will be seeing JSession ID cookie that is being set in the browser. So if you click on the cookie tab, you see JSession ID and it has this value. So this is the cookie that is being set because our server is making use of cookies for session management. Okay, and that is why you are seeing this over here. Okay, and yeah, that is what the information you should know about basic authentication. Okay, so you are making use of authorization headers over here. First thing, okay. There are no inbuilt forms like you saw. Okay, everything works on the basis of alert pop-ups in the browser, and it is making use of JSession ID as of now, which you have an option to disable via the source code. But for now, it is being tracked using cookies. The session is being managed using cookies. Okay, now let us see the form-based authentication. So if I like disable the basic one here, if I enable the form-based, and if I restart this, okay. So the application has restarted. If you come over here, okay, let me come over here. I'll keep the headers selected and let me go to hello again. So you will be presented with the login form again. Okay. And what you need to do is I'll just clear everything off. Okay. So this is the clear button and I need to say admin and I need to enter my password, which is demo@123. I log in. Okay. Login is done. Now you'll see login over here. Okay, you can see headers over here. Okay, this is the response headers. Okay, you can see the cookie information over here. So this is also making use of JSession ID cookie. Okay, and JSession ID is being sent back and forth between the client and server with each request to identify the user's session over here. Okay, so you can see that happen. You have the authorization information over here as well. Okay, and you have the explicit cookie tab, like the request tab cookie and also the response cookie. Okay, and that is what you are seeing. Also, you are seeing the payload over here. Okay, so this is how the information is being sent when you do the form-based authentication. So you have the username and password being sent like this. Okay, and you have the CSRF ID over here like this. Okay, now when you are making use of form-based authentication, you are submitting credentials via an HTTP or via an HTML form, not an HTTP form. It's an HTML form. And once the user is authenticated, there is a session being maintained between the client and the server. Okay. But there was no payload tab when we were making use of basic authentication. Okay. So this is something that you need to know. Okay. So that's the difference between form and basic authentication. So what I would do is I would switch over to the basic authentication again. I'll restart the server. Okay. And if you take a look over here in the basic authentication, okay, so let me head over here. Okay, and let me open the network tab at least. Okay, so if I go to network tab, you'll see even though we are making use of the basic authentication, we still have access to the cookies tab over here, right? Which means cookies being maintained. So which means this is not a stateless API yet. So you can disable the statefulness and you can make your API stateless by just adding a line of code over here. Okay. So what I can do over here is I can come over here and here just before this line here. Okay. So I can add a code over here. I can say HTTP dot session management. All right. And I'm going to say session over here. And I'm going to say over here session creation policy. So I'll say session creation policy over here. And here we have an option. Okay, so let me take this to new line, something like this. And here session, one second. So this has to be capital, session creation policy. And you can see over here, session creation policy always, never, if required, and stateless. So I'll select stateless from here. Okay. So this will make sure that our requests are now stateless. So I'll rerun this. Okay. And let us see what this looks like. Okay. So if you come over here, you have the cookies tab, cookie being set. If you refresh, let me see. Okay, we are still getting the cookies right now. I've restarted the app. Let me close the browser and open it again. Okay. So I'll come over here. I'll say admin. Or wait a minute, let me open the network tab first here. Okay. And if I head over to here, I'll say admin demo@123. Okay. Let us see if we have cookie. We don't have cookies now. You can see the cookies tab itself is gone and we don't see anything like cookies. So this is now completely stateless. We have made our APIs stateless. Okay. And we have done this with the help of a single line of code. Okay. We have just added one line which says that, hey, I want my session over here. So you can see the session management should be stateless over here. And this has got us a stateless working API. All right. So I hope this was useful. Normally, when you are building a REST API, you would not be accessing the APIs like this from the browser, right? So this is not how would you access your API. So this is GET request, and that is why we are able to access it right from the web browser. But normally for post requests, browsers won't work. And usually when you're doing API development, you make use of tools such as Postman, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Postman over here. I have it installed already. I've created a new workspace as well over here. Okay. And a new collection called security. Okay. So I'll just rename this. Instead of security, I'll call this security course over here. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to see how this request behaves in Postman. Okay. So I'm going to add a new request over here and I'm going to say, or instead of saying, let me just copy this request here. Okay. And I'll come over here. I'll paste it. Now, if you send this request, you're of course going to get 401 unauthorized. This is obviously because we are not authenticating it. Now, the question is, how do you pass authentication information from Postman? So for that, you need to head over to auth over here and you need to click over here on the drop down and you need to select basic auth over here. Okay. Now, if I minimize this, you are going to be shown a form over here. Okay. Now, what is this form? This form is the form where you can enter the username and password. So I'll enter my username as admin and password as demo@123. Okay. And with this information, if I say send over here, you are going to see 200. Okay. All right. And this is working absolutely fine now. All right. So this is how you can get this particular thing work in Postman. If you want to see how your request was sent, you can click on console over here at the bottom. The moment I click on console, I'll see two requests. Now, these are the two requests that I triggered. The first one you'll see is 401, which means that this was the one that failed initially. Okay. And if you go to the second one, this was the one that passed. Okay, it's 200. Okay, and here you will see the headers. So this is how the authentication information is being passed. So what happens is, I'll tell you, here in the authorization, you are entering your username and password over here, right? So this is a username and password that you are entering over here. Now this username and password is being converted into this authorization header over here, and the authentication information is encoded in this authorization header. Okay, and it is being encoded in base 64. Okay, so what base 64 is, so let me explain what base 64 is. So if I open Notepad here, base 64 is a format where the username and password is encoded in this format. So the format is, it's user colon password, okay, or username colon password. So in our case, our username is, what is our username? Admin colon demo @123, something like this. This is what our username and password is, right? So it is being sent in this particular form, and I'll show it to you. So I'll copy this hashed string over here, encoded string. I'll copy this. We can go over to browser, and on Google you can search for base 64 decode over here. Okay, so this is a base 64 encoder decoder. You'll find a lot of base 64 encoder decoder. You can select on any one. Okay, and if you paste it over here, the copied string, and if I say decode, you'll see admin colon demo @123, right? So this is what the decoding is, right? So you can see this particular string over here that you saw is nothing but the base 64 version of our username and password. Okay, so it's being encoded over here to transform it into some other form rather than hard coding it in a raw way. Okay, so this is about the base 64 thing and how you can get authentication work in Postman. Okay, and remember, you have to select basic auth from over here.
Hello everybody, welcome back to this video and this series on Spring Security. So if you are new to this channel or if you're watching this video for the first time, let me tell you, like, this video is a part of an entire series that we are doing on Spring Security, where we are learning Spring Security right from scratch, and you can find the playlist in the description below. Okay, so be sure to access the playlist and also subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell notification icon. That's how you can stay updated and motivate me to upload more such free content on this platform. Okay, so talking about this video, in this video we are going to explore something called as in-memory authentication. So we have come very far with Spring Security, okay, or we have a working secure API right now, which is asking for user authentication. Okay, and what we have done, I would also like to mention, is limited. Okay, in a way, like, we have only one user right now in our system. But in real world production grade applications, you will have multiple users who would want to access your system. And you might want to give or create multiple usernames and passwords. Okay, and we are going to take a step in that direction. So we are going to see how you can create multiple users along with unique passwords in memory. Okay, so we are not making use of a persistent system like a database yet. Okay, it's still all going to be in memory. Don't worry, we are going to transition to databases as well. But for this video, we are going to stick to in-memory authentication, where we create users and passwords in memory. We'll assign them roles as well. Okay, and yeah, you're going to see multiple user based authentication. That's what we are going to cover. So we'll go step by step. Okay, I won't overwhelm you with a lot of stuff, but in this video, this is what we are going to cover. And yes, we are going to cover this in a very hands-on way. Okay, everything is hands-on. So be sure to stick till the very end, because there is a lot of stuff that's packed in. Okay, and also if you are watching this video until now, okay, you should comment below and let me know who you are, where are you joining from, what's your name, what are you doing right now, and what sort of videos you want to see on this particular channel. Okay, I have a list of courses that I wish to upload on this channel, and your request or your comments will influence that list. So you have an opportunity to request something, or request a course or something that you would like to see on this channel. Okay, and if many people request the same thing, I normally create a course on that particular topic. Okay, so yeah, be sure to leave a comment and let me know. Okay, so I go through my comment personally, by the way, let me tell you that as well. I read everything that you all are posting on my videos. Okay, so yeah, I won't take much time. Without a further ado, let's jump right in and let's get started.
So right now we are making use of basic authentication, where we have one user configured in our application, using which we are able to access the APIs. All right. Now, one user might not be enough. Your security requirements would be complex. Like in future, you might need to have roles. So basically, on the basis of different roles that is being assigned to the users should be able to access and perform different actions in your system, right? And also, you might have different users that you want to keep track of. Here, as of now, we have only one user. Okay, so this method that we are using right now is very limited. Okay, we have one user who is hard coded. Okay, and also, like, you can add a role over here, but things can go beyond the capabilities of the basic authentication over here. Okay, so what I would do is will do away with basic authentication, and we'll talk about something called as in-memory authentication. So if you take a look at the diagram over here, right? Here you can see we have the user details stored in the database, and user details service is fetching in the data from the database. So typically what happens is you have a database wherein you have a table called users, and normally whenever user name and password is to be validated, it is validated against that particular table. But right now we have not configured the database. So what we are going to do is we are going to make use of in-memory users. So we are going to create users within the memory. Okay, they won't persist. So they would be users that exist within the memory. We'll configure our application to work with such in-memory users, and this is known as in-memory authentication. Okay, so let us switch over. So this entire flow will work as it is. Okay, but we won't have the database. This is something that we'll bring in a bit later. Okay, so what I would do is I will switch over to security config over here. Okay, and to configure in-memory authentication, what we would be doing is we would be adding a bean over here. Okay, so let me add a bean. I'm going to say bean here. Okay, and this bean is going to be public user details service. So this is what it's going to return. So you can see user details service, which is a part of Spring Framework security core user details. Okay, and I'm going to call user details service over here. Okay, and here I'm going to return new in memory user details manager over here. Okay, and this is going to have the credentials of users. So for example, it is going to have user 1, it will have admin credentials, and so on. Okay, so right now these are not defined, we'll be defining them. But if you head over to in-memory user details manager, okay, if you scroll up over here, okay, you would see this is a class. Okay, and it is a implementation of, you can see over here, user details manager and user details password service. So if you go over here, user details manager, you can see it extends user details service over here. Okay, so this is an interface over here. Okay, and if you come over here, we are returning user details service. So in-memory user details manager is an implementation of user details service. Okay, and what in-memory user details manager does is it manages user details in the memory, and hence its name is in-memory user details managers. If you have any documentation over here, okay, so you can see over here, non-persistent implementation of user details manager, which is backed by in-memory map, and it is mainly intended for testing and demonstration purpose, where a full-blown persistent system isn't required. Okay, and this is the entire class over here, as you can see. Okay, there are several methods. One of the methods over here is user. So if you go over here, okay, one second, let me go down. There will be a method which is with Okay, so not method, but a constructor over here. Okay, so this is a constructor which accepts the type of user details over here. So you can pass in the user details over here. Okay, and you need to first create the user details object. You pass in the user details over here, and those users will be created with the help of this method create user. Okay, so what we would do is here we are passing the user details. Okay, you can see this is a constructor we are calling, and we are passing in the user details. So these two objects have to be of type user details. Okay, so what I need to do here is I'll come over here. I'll say user details. Okay, you can see this is also an inbuilt class that we are making use of. Okay, so if you go over here, it's an interface actually. Okay, and what it does is you can see it provides the core user information over here. Okay, so what I would do is I would come over here. I'll say user one over here. I'll say user dot, and I'll say with user details over here. Okay, now what we will do over here is I'll say user is user one, something like this. I'll say password. So what is the password? I can set password as password one over here just for demonstration purposes. Okay, I'll go over here. I'll add the roles as well. So I'll add the role as normal user, and here I'll say dot build. Okay, so I'm making use of build over here, and what this is going to do is it is going to give me the object of user details type. Okay, so what we are doing over here is we are actually constructing a object of user details type, and we have all these details. Now we are getting a red mark over here. If you hover on this, okay, you'll see that it's a red mark. So required type is user details. Okay, but provided string. Okay, so what I need to do over here is I need to add a prefix. I need to say, okay, I realized like I'm using a different method here. So it was not with user details, it was with username. This is the one. Okay, so we are creating a user with this username, this password, this role, and build over here. Okay, now I'll explain you what is Noop over here. Okay, so if I remove this, okay, it still works, but what happens is normally you would encode your passwords. Okay, so passwords and usernames are not stored this way. So not username, but here we have to add it to password. Okay, so passwords are not stored this way in a hard-coded text format in memory or in the database. So you have something called as a prefix. So you have to add this prefix NOOP, which tells Spring that, hey, this particular password should be saved as plain text. Okay, I'll tell you that this is not a production grade practice. We will be learning about password encoders, and we'll understand how you can encode the passwords so that they cannot be read by anyone else. Okay, but for now we are making use of Noop over here until we understand how you can make use of password encoders. All right, so this is what it is. What I will do is I have this user created over here. Okay, I can create one more user if I want to. Okay, or let me add one more user. I'll add one more. Okay, I can say admin over here. Okay, and this one I can give admin here. Okay, and I can call this as admin here, and this one can be admin pass, something like this. All right, so two users have been created, and now let me run the application. So let us run the application and let us see how this works. Okay, so the application is up and running. I'll just close this. If you hit refresh over here, you're being asked for password. You can say user one, and here you can say password one, and you can say sign in, and you can see this works over here. Okay, even with the other user, it will work. Okay, and even it will work from the postman. So if I say admin, and if I say admin pass over here, and if I say send, you should see 200 OK appear over here. Okay, so this absolutely works, and this is working perfectly fine. All right, so what we have done is we have made use of in-memory authentication to create multiple users, and we are managing this in the memory. Okay, so the information is right now not persistent in the database. Okay, we are straight away making use of memory to create and store the user information. You can create as many users as you want. Okay, just remember, in-memory user details manager will need an object of type user details, like we saw in the interface, or right, we saw in its implementation over there. Okay, so this is a class and we saw it in the implementation, and here you can construct the user details object in this way. All right, and we are making use of Noop over here, which is not a good production practice, but since we are learning, we are using it, and we'll do away with this soon. All right, so this is about how you can manage your users in memory.
Welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to discuss role-based authentication with Spring Security. If you are new to this channel and if you're watching my video for the first time, I would highly recommend that you check out the entire playlist. The link for the entire playlist can be found in the description of this video. And it's a playlist about Spring Security where we cover Spring Security right from scratch, from very basics till the very advanced features such as JWT. So talking about this video, in this video, we are going to cover role-based authentication. Are you excited? Immediately hit the like button and show some love, people, show some support over here. Also, if you are new to this channel and if you are liking my work, if you think that this content is good, then you should immediately subscribe and hit the bell notification icon over there. Okay, this will enable us to stay connected and you would be updated with all the future updates that I'm posting in this series. Okay, so we are talking about role-based authentication, and it's a very common feature normally wherein if you're building a production grade application, you will have some parts of your application accessible to certain users, and then other parts of the application would be accessible to some other kinds of users, and then some parts of the application would be open for all, right? So that's what role-based authentication is. For example, if you're building an e-commerce website, you might have an administrator or an admin who would be allowed to perform operations such as delete, create products. He would be allowed to change the price of any particular product item or something like that, run discounts. And any normal user who is not an administrator, he can only like view the product information. He can probably do some other reading stuff. He cannot modify something which he is not allowed to. Okay, so that's what role-based authentication is. So once the user is authenticated, okay, you need to essentially assess as to what he is allowed to do, and on the basis of that, whatever he's trying to do, you grant him access to that action. Okay, so that is what role-based authentication is all about, and we are going to learn exactly how you can do that in your Spring Boot application. So it's going to be very exciting. We are going to cover some new annotations, and in the process, we are going to learn a lot. I'm so excited and I'm so happy as well as to how far we have come with this entire playlist. Okay, we started from the very basics, like how to add Spring Security into our application, and right now we are talking about role-based authentication, and I'm going to make it really a cakewalk for you. Okay, and if you have not liked, like the video. Okay, if you have not liked after hearing this, like what we are going to cover, you should absolutely like and even subscribe. Okay, because I normally see the analytics over here, the analytics dashboard. Most of my viewers, like majority of the views I get from people who have not subscribed to my channel. I don't know why. And there is a good repeat rate as well. Like people who watch my videos come back again to watch my videos again. So of course they are finding value. That's why they are coming back. But yeah, I don't know why people are not subscribing. So you should absolutely hit the subscribe button. Okay, I won't take much time, but one last thing. I would want you all to comment below as well and introduce yourself as to who you are, where you are joining in from, what you do currently, and what sort of videos you want to see on this channel. Okay, and I normally check the comments of my viewers to like plan out the next set of videos. Okay, so you have a chance to influence that list, people. Comment. Okay, so I won't take much time. Without further ado, let's jump right in.
Right now, how our API is working is we have this endpoint which is secured, And anyone in our application, like any user, can access this endpoint. So I can access it using this admin credentials from here. I can even access it using the user credentials. So I can say user1 and password1. Okay. This is good, but there will be scenarios in your application, like if you're building a complex production grade application, it's common to have a functionality where you want to control access to different parts of your application based on the roles assigned to the users. For example, you might only want to allow administrators to delete any data or update anything, while regular users can only view the data, right? There might be teams in the organization who is using your product, and they might want to have a customer support specialist, for example, want to only view the data, and they want to hide the phone numbers from the customer support specialist, right? And administrators like the store managers or someone like that, or someone at the admin level, can only edit and modify the data, view the phone numbers and all. Okay. So you could face this scenario wherein certain APIs are restricted to people with certain roles. Okay. And this is often implemented with the help of annotations to make it easy to manage. Okay. And Spring makes it really easy. What we are going to do is we are going to add one more API over here. Okay. And we are going to talk about how we can get role-based access. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of more APIs over here. Okay. I'm going to say hello here. And here you can say user endpoint, something like this. Okay. And this can be /user here. And I can say hello, and I can say user, something like this. Okay. And then I can even have the admin endpoint. So I can just copy this, come down, and this can be the admin endpoint, right? And this can be admin, something like this, right? And here instead of user, I can say hello admin. Now if I run this, everybody is going to be able to access this. Okay. So if I say hello, and if I say user, for example, over here. Okay. So this is going to work. Admin is also going to work, right? So right now we are signing in from user credentials, and we are also able to access this admin API, right? But let's say I want to restrict the access level of these APIs to users with certain roles. Okay. So I can make use of annotations over here. So first thing, what I need to do is I'll add an annotation here. Okay. I'll say pre-authorized here. Okay. So by using this annotation, you are telling Spring Security that, hey, I want only users with a specific role to access this particular thing. Okay. So what pre-authorize will do is pre-authorize is used to check authorization before executing a method. Okay. And you can specify conditions that need to be true for the method to execute. Okay. So for example, here I can specify a condition. I can say has role, and I can say over here, okay, user, something like this. Okay. So this is the pre-authorized annotation. And for this to work, what I should also do is I should go to my security config here, and I should enable method security. Okay. So if I add this annotation, okay, this thing will start working. All right. So let me run this. All right. So what we are doing is we want only user to access the user endpoint. Okay. And if I come over here and if I say admin, and here if I say admin pass, he can access the admin API. But if I go to user, let us see if this works. You can see 500 internal server error. Okay, interesting. This is not what we expected. Wait a minute. So if I go over here, now if you see the error over here, cannot find terminating like quote for the string. So here we missed this closing quote. Okay, small mistake. But if I rerun the application, okay, this should work as expected. No issues as such. So if I come over here and if I try to access this, you should see 403 forbidden. Okay. Now we are not getting 401 unauthorized over here. Okay. Because if you're logging in with the credentials that are recognized. Okay, and those credentials do not include the permission to access a specific resource, the Spring Security will issue a 403 forbidden. Okay, this is because authentication is successful. So what this means is the request is authenticated, but accessing this resource is forbidden. Okay, so Spring Security understands the request, understands the credentials, but it is not able to give you access to this particular thing. Okay, and it says the request was a legal request, but the server is refusing to respond to it. Okay, and this is unlike 401 because authenticating will make no difference. Okay, so I hope this makes sense, and we are not able to, or we are not allowed to access this resource, but we can access hello over here. So this would work as it is. Okay, so you can see how this is getting to work over here. Okay, so here hello is working, but we have just blocked the access to this particular endpoint over here. Okay, and we have blocked it for user. Okay, so here you can update this for admin. So let's say only admin can access this and no one else. So if you try to log in over here with the help of users, you are going to get an error. Okay, so here if I say admin, okay, and if I say send, you'll see this works. And if I say user 1 and password 1 over here, okay, so if I say password 1 and if you say submit, you'll get 403 forbidden again because this is the admin endpoint. Okay, so this is how you can enable role-based access. So it becomes pretty easy when it comes to Spring Boot when enabling role-based access, and this is because of the wonderful annotations that you get access to. Okay, now there is one more annotation in fact that I should talk about, which is post authorize. So here what happens is, if you see this code, pre-authorize is running before executing the method. There is post authorize, which is used to enforce security after a method has executed. Okay, and that allows you to take decisions based on the result of the method. Okay, so there is post authorize as well. Okay, but we are using pre-authorize over here because we want to block the execution of this method, and we want to allow this with a specific role only. Okay, and if your question is where we are setting this role, so we are setting this role in security config over here. So if you come over here, you have user, admin. These are the roles that you are setting over here. Okay, so if you switch the roles, the behavior will also be switched. Okay, so this is how you can implement role-based security in your APIs. So I hope this was useful.
Welcome people, and in this particular video and in this particular series, in fact, we are taking one step further with this video, and we are going to cover H2 database with Spring Security. Okay, so we are going to understand how you can make use of H2 database with Spring Security. It's not that straightforward. Of course, you can add H2 database, but how would you access H2 console and all? So all of that we are going to see what all issues we face normally when you're trying to make use of this amazing in-memory database. Okay, so if you're new to this channel and if you have not watched my previous video or any of my videos, so I would like to tell you that this video is a part of a complete Spring Security series that I'm doing here. And the link for the series or the playlist you will find in the description below. Okay, and be sure to check out earlier videos if you want to get some context. Otherwise, it's completely fine. You can watch this video as well. Okay, but yeah, this series is all about Spring Security, where we cover Spring Security right from basics. Okay, like how can you add Spring Security into your project? Literally, that we are covering, and then we go up to the advanced stuff. Okay, which is like JWT authentication, database authentication, all of that. Okay, so yeah, that's about this video. That's about the playlist, in fact. And about this video, we are going to work with H2 database, like I mentioned. Okay, so we'll be configuring H2 database, and this is a step towards JDBC authentication or database backed authentication. Okay, so right now the authentication is in memory, which is pretty much in memory, you know. So we need our user details to persist into the database, right? So we need to do that, and yeah, it's a step forward. So if you like the video, I would highly encourage you all to hit that like button right now, okay, and show some support to this particular series that I'm doing. And also hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon. That's really important to stay connected and also to get the updates to you all. Okay, because I'm posting a lot of content now. I'm working on a lot of content that's coming in. And if you wish to stay updated, you should subscribe and even turn on the bell notification icon. So yeah, that's about this. Also, be sure to comment and introduce yourself as to what you're doing, where you're from, and also if you have any video requests or any sort of course you want to see on this channel, you should post that over there. All right, so without a further ado, let's jump right in and let's start working with H2 database, and let's see what happens if you add it with a project that is configured to work with Spring Security.
So far, we have an in-memory authentication in place where we are authenticating users with the help of the user information that is being managed in memory. All right. Now, we need to configure H2 database so that we can move this information that we are managing in memory as of now to a database, right? So we'll begin the configuration for H2 database. And for that, we'll head over to our favorite website, which is Spring Initializer. I'll make sure I select Maven here. I'll head over to dependencies and I'll select a couple of dependencies over here, which is H2 and JPA. Okay. And I'll go to explore and we'll scroll down over here and we'll copy these two dependencies that we need. Okay. So these are the two dependencies that we will add to our project, which is pom.xml. All right. We'll keep the rest of the things as it is and we'll hit Maven refresh. Okay. So what is happening over here is we got the dependencies. Now what we need to do is we need to enable the console over here, right? And to enable console, we'll add just a couple of properties over here. Okay. So I'll say Spring dot, I'll say h2 dot console dot enabled is equal to, I'll say true over here. And I'll also add the data source. So I'll say Spring data source dot URL over here is equal to gdbc colon h2 colon mem colon test. Okay. And I'll rerun the application. Okay. Now let us see what the behavior is when you try to access H2 console. Okay. So if you come over here, if you head over to this URL localhost colon 8080 H2 console, you'll be presented with a login alert. Okay. Of course, because we have basic authentication enabled for all the endpoints. And H2 console is a part of our application. So I can say user 1 and I can enter, let's say password 1 over here. I'll be taken to this page here. I'll say connect. I'm being presented with this again. Okay. So I'll say user 1 and password 1. So this H2 console page, okay, again this pop-up comes. So this H2 console page is already authenticated, right? H2 has its own authentication form from where it is authenticating the users. So what we can do is if we want to disable the login on that particular page, the Spring Security login, you have an option to do that, okay? And for that, we can switch over here, okay? And we'll head over to our config here. I'll scroll up. And here we are saying request dot any request, right? So what I would do is I would take this any request to the next line. And I would also add one more line over here, dot, I'll say request matches. Okay, so I'll try to match the request with a pattern in the URL. Okay, so you can see string patterns is what you can pass in. So I'll say slash h2 hyphen console over here. And then I'll have 2 stars over here. Okay. And if it matches this, I'll say permit all. Okay. So if the request that I'm getting, if it's matching this URL pattern, then I'm permitting without Spring Security Authentication. And apart from this, any request, I'm marking it as authenticated. So I'll rerun this. Let us see what the things look like. Okay. And if you come over here, let me go to H2 console now. Okay. So you can see we were not asked for any sort of authentication now. And if I say connect now, okay, we are being asked for this authentication still. Okay. And let me see what is the reason over here. Okay. So we are saying request matcher and dot permit all. Okay. Which is absolutely fine. Okay. So I just restarted the application and I tried testing it and it seemed to be working now. So if I connect, you see that I'm not getting that alert pop-up, okay? But I'm getting something else. So you're seeing over here, localhost refused to connect, okay? But if you're getting the alert pop-up again and again, despite disabling this from request matches over here, okay? Then restart your application and even like close the browser and start it again in incognito mode. So there is a possibility that some session information must be stored in the cache or something. And that is the reason why it's showing you authentication pop-ups again and again, okay? But yeah, since that is gone, now you can see over here, we have a new issue, okay? Here, nothing is loading. So if you right click and if you say inspect over here, okay, you'll see that everything is a frame over here. You can see this is a frame, this is a frame, this is a frame, right? Everything is frame. And by default, these frames are disabled, okay? So you need to enable this for this to work, okay? And how can you enable this? There is a configuration for that as well. Okay, so you can come over here. I can say http.headers and I can say headers. I'll have lambda over here, headers dot, I'll say frame options. Okay, and let me take this to new line, frame options. And I can say frame options and I'll say over here, frame options dot same origin, something like this. So this is a line of code that you need to add. All right. What we are doing is for HTTP headers, we are saying headers, and within headers for frame options, we are allowing the frame options from the same origin. So once you use this, okay, there is also a suggestion over here. If you hover on this, you can replace lambda with a method reference. This is also doable. Okay. And if you refresh this, okay, you can restart the application. And now if you refresh, let me refresh. Okay, so I'll come over here again and I'll say connect. Okay, it's asking me for the pop-up again. Okay, so this is because probably we have the CSRF enabled and we have not disabled it. Okay, so what I would do over here is right now, I will come over here. Okay, and I'll have http.csrf and I'll say CSRF and like this CSRF dot disabled. Okay, so this is disabled and I can run this again. Let us see what the output looks like. This is working and let me like hit refresh, connect, and you can see this works now. Okay, so there's no issue as such. Okay, you can like log out from here, disconnect, test connection, and all the endpoints or all the URLs will work starting from H2 console. Okay, so what we have done over here is, okay, first of all, we have like allowed all the requests coming in to H2 console. We have allowed them bypass the security. Okay, we have also enabled the frames over here from the same origin. Okay, so we have allowed the frames for H2 console. And then we disabled the CSRF to get it to work. Okay. All right. So with these settings, we have the H2 console enabled. You can hover on this and you can replace lambda with a method reference. Okay. And I can run this again. Okay. So if you come over here and if you refresh and if you say test connection, connect, you can see that it's working absolutely fine. Okay. So what we can do is we can get this information now into H2 database and we don't need to make use of in-memory user details manager. All right. So I hope this was useful.
Hey there, welcome back everybody, and in this particular video we are going to talk about database backed authentication with Spring Security. Yes, so we are going to cover how you can actually secure your application using a database. So using a database meaning you can store all your user credentials, information, their roles and everything in a database, right? So there is a persistent storage in the hindsight that's saving your user information. Okay. So far, what we have done is we have in-memory authentication, and our users' details are being stored in memory. Okay, but all modern day application will have databases, and databases are pretty common these days, right? So yeah, it's important that we see the database part of Spring Security as well, and that's what we are going to cover from scratch, step by step. Okay, I'm also going to explain you things like hashing and password encoding. Now, when it comes to database authentication, it's important that you don't store your passwords, like your user passwords, in a plain text format, right? Otherwise, anyone can see it, or if your database gets hacked, hackers can see it, or developers can see it. So it's best to store in such a way that they are encrypted and in non-readable format, right? So that's where we are going to make use of hashing and password encoding. We are going to make use of inbuilt password encoders, and we are going to see how they can secure your application even more. Okay, we are going to understand the concepts of hashing and all as well. So it's going to be a very useful video. If you're watching my video for the first time, or if you're new to this channel, I would highly encourage you to check out the description for the link to the earlier videos. So the description has a link to the entire playlist. Okay, so you can get access to the earlier videos and the video afterwards. Okay, so that's going to help you get some context as to what we are doing. So just to tell you, we are covering Spring Security from scratch, from basics to the advanced level. Okay, so be sure to take the benefit of the playlist. Also, if you haven't liked this video yet, be sure to hit the like button, and also you should subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notification icon, because that is going to motivate me to bring more such amazing free content for you all. So number of likes, subscribes, comments, all these metrics impact my ability to bring such content on this platform. Okay, so be sure to support me and get benefit of the content that I'm posting here. Also, I would love to know more about you, like who you are, where you're joining from, what do you do currently, what sort of videos you would want to see on this channel. So be sure to leave all this information in the comment below. Okay, I'll be reading your comments personally. Sure. So yeah, that's about the video. There is a lot of information packed in there. Do watch it till the very end. Let's jump right in.
So far, what is happening is we are making use of in-memory user details manager to create users in memory, which means that these users are not getting created in the database. We already have a data source or a database configured with our application. And right now we are making use of H2 database, right? So it's time that we start moving these users instead of in memory to the data source or the database that we have configured. So tomorrow it might be like you might have, instead of H2, you might have PostgreSQL or MySQL or any other database configured. And what would happen is, with the changes that we are going to do, you would be able to create users over there. All right. So here in the security config, what we need to do is we need to make use of something called as JDBC user details manager. Okay. So here I'll just type in, okay, JDBC, and you can say user details manager. You can see like this is also a user manager. Okay. It's a, so if you go over here, you can see over here, it's a user detail manager. It's an implementation of the same. Okay. And if you go over here in memory detail manager, it is also a implementation of this. Okay. User details manager. But the purpose is different. This is used to create users in memory. This is used to create users in a database. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to make use of JDBC user details manager, and I'm going to create an object over here. So I'm going to say user details manager is equal to new JDBC user details manager. Okay. Now what happens is this JDBC user details manager needs a data source. So if you go to the class here, you will see, so this is a default constructor with no parameters, but it also accepts parameters. This is another constructor where you can pass in a data source, and data source is nothing but actually it's source of data. Okay, so wherever you are storing the data in your application. And right now in our application, we have a data source configured. So here, if you see, here we have these properties, and these properties indicate that there is a data source configured called H2, okay, which is H2 database. So what I would do is I would make use of data source over here. Okay, so I'll say data source, and I'll get this auto wired. Where do I get this bean from? So actually, if I specify something like this, what I'm saying is that inject the dependency called data source into this particular object. Okay, and how does this happen? So what would happen is Spring Boot will automatically make use of auto configuration to set up a data source bean for us. And you will ask, hey, how Spring Boot would automatically do this? So it has all the configurations of your project. Okay, it knows that in pom.xml, you are making use of H2 database, JPA. Okay, and in application.properties, you are specifying these two properties. So based on this configuration that you have provided to Spring Boot, it will automatically have a data source bean available for you. And it will automatically set up this bean, and it will auto wire over here because here you are asking for it. Okay. So we'll have this. We don't need to define this because this is automatically taken care by whom? Like I said, Spring Boot. Okay. So I have this bean created here, and what I would do is I would come over here to user details manager, and I would pass in this object. Okay. Now this is done. All right. And here, instead of sending this to in-memory user details manager, what I would do is here I would say user details manager dot create user. You can see this create user method here, and I can say over here user 1. I'll duplicate this. I'll say create user as admin as well. Okay, this is done. And here I can say return user details manager, something like this. So this is done. Okay, and this is taken care of. Okay, so what we have done is we have just replaced the implementation of in-memory user details manager with the help of JDBC user details manager. That is it. And this will make sure that our data is being stored in the database. Okay. There are a few things still pending, but let me run this and show this to you. Okay. So it will throw an exception or an error. I should warn you in advance, but we'll see that error and we'll learn something. Okay. So you get an error. So I'm purposely generating this error. You can see this error now. It's telling you that table users is not found. Okay. If you scroll up, okay, is it the same error here? Okay, user details. You can see users not found. So it's trying to run this and it's getting an error. Okay, users not found here. It's all about the schema being non-existent over here. Okay. So you can see if you take a look at, if you read errors, this query is again failing. So we got same error twice because we are trying to create two users. Okay. So let me tell you, in order to save details of a user into the database, you first need a schema. Now, what is a schema? Schema is nothing but a structure of the database. Okay. Like you need some tables already created inside which you are going to store the user details, right? And here what we are doing is we are making use of user details that is inbuilt, right? So we can make use of some default schema that exists with Spring Boot. So what we are going to do is we are going to head over to GitHub. Okay, so for that we are going to head over to browser, and I'm going to search for Spring Security GitHub. Okay, so you'll find the official source code of Spring Security on GitHub over here under Spring projects. Okay, and here you can search for users.ttl. Okay, if you search for this, you should see this location: core src main resources org Spring Framework Security. So under security, it's under core user details, JDBC and users DLL. Okay, so if you come over here and if you go to this file user details, okay, you'll find org.springframework.security. Okay, so you'll find over here org.springframework.security, then core user details. Okay, so you can see core user details. Okay, so this is a path. Okay, and within core user details, it will go further calling JWT and users TDL. So you will go to this particular file. Let's go to this file, and you can see this file with some schema over here, like the schema definition. Okay, so this is the schema definition that we need in order to like have the tables and everything created where our users can be stored. Okay, and what we can do is, I'll just copy this, like just copy this thing over here, just come back to your project and just go over here. So what we need to do is, we need to make sure that H2 picks up this particular schema, and when the application starts, it is created automatically. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create a new file over here, which is going to be schema.sql file under resources, and here I'm going to paste that schema that I copied. Okay, so this is an SQL file. Okay, and this is saved. Okay, so yeah, this is done. And yeah, what would happen is, I'll tell you. So since we are making use of H2, which is an in-memory database, the data gets cleared, and hence we need to get the table created when the application starts. So if you are using some other type of database like MySQL and PostgreSQL, which are non-memory database, then in that case, the schema will persist. Okay, so in that case, what you can do is, you can copy these SQL commands and you can run it in the respective tables or respective database over there. But for this, what we need to do is, for every application start, we need to make sure that this schema is loaded into the database. Okay, so to load an SQL file on an application start in Spring Boot application, especially for setting up security or initializing any sort of database table, you can make use of Spring Boot's automatic schema initialization feature. And this feature automatically runs SQL script during the startup, which is particularly handy for creating schemas like this. If you want to insert any default data, you can do that, or you can configure any sort of tables or anything for that. And the process is, you just need to create a schema.sql file under resources folder over here, and it will automatically be picked up by Spring Boot. Okay, and since you're making use of everything default, right, we don't have our own custom user details or our own user structure. We can make use of default schema which exists with Spring Security. And where did we get this schema from? We got this schema from the official source code of Spring Security, as I've shown you. Okay, and what we will do is, we'll run this code again. Let us run this code and let us see what happens. So earlier we were getting an error. Now we are not getting an error, as you can see. Okay, so the error is gone and it indicates that schema has been created. And to confirm, what I would do is, I would just head over to H2 database. I'll connect, and you can see two tables automatically appear over here. One is users and one is authorities. So if you take a look at this schema definition or the queries over here, you're creating two tables. Okay, now let me take you to the tables. Okay, if I say select star from users, you can see your users are also created. Isn't this amazing? Okay, your users are also created. You can clear this. Authorities, you have some authority as well. So admin has the role of admin, user has the role of user. Okay, and this is something you like just got created with few changes in the code. Okay, so you just added schema.sql and you updated this thing to work with user details manager. Okay, and now if you test your application, it is going to work with these credentials. Okay, so if you come over here, okay, and here if I say user1 and password1 here in the basic auth, okay, and if I say send over here, okay, we got an error. Okay, so I'm trying to access the admin API. Okay, so I'm saying /admin. So let me head over to the controller. Okay, so if you go to admin, I can say /user over here. Okay, so if I say /user here, if I say send, you can see hello user. Or if I go to hello, this should work. Okay, this should work. You can see perfectly working and it's amazing. Okay, so this is how you can move everything onto the database without making use of in-memory stuff. Okay, still we are making use of H2 database, which is right now in memory. But if you have any sort of database like a Amazon RDS, for example, remote database, if you have a project that is making use of SQL, if you have a project that is making use of MySQL, PostgreSQL, any sort of other database, you can do things this way. And in that case, if it's not an in-memory database, you don't need to add schema.sql like this. Okay, we have added this because, like I explained, we are making use of in-memory database because the data is being cleared on every application restart. So you need to have schema that is loaded every time the application starts. And this is the simplest way of setting things up. Okay, so yeah, this is working absolutely fine. Still, you will be able to see the password in the database, and this is not a good practice right now. We are not making use of any encryption mechanism right now, but yeah, we are getting there. Okay, so we are taking one step at a time, but yeah, things are working. And from in memory, we have graduated. I should say graduated. Okay, because we have come so far. So from in memory, we have graduated to the database backed authentication, and that's amazing. Pat yourself on the back. So that's about the database authentication, and I hope this was useful. So now it's time that we talk about hashing and understand what it is. So what is hashing? Now, hashing is a process wherein if you have a message that needs to be transmitted, okay, or sent over the network, then in that case, you can hash the message, which means that you can take it through a process where the message looks something different than the original message. So I should say not something, but it looks a lot different than the original message. Okay. So if you come over here, let's say as an example, I have this message or a string I wish to send to the server over a network. And the string is programming. Okay. Now I can make use of hashing, and I can convert it into something called as this or something like this. You can see the string. This string looks very different than that of programming. Okay. And this process of converting programming like a normal string to something that looks like encrypted message, it's called hashing. And this is what hashing is in simple terms. Okay. So hashing, it's a one-way process. Okay. And you can't turn it back into like the original string that you have. Okay. And once the other side receives this string, it will decrypt it and convert it into original message. Okay. So this is what hashing is. And how this hashing works is it involves making use of algorithms. So there are different algorithms that exist, and these algorithms are used to work on the message or the string, whatever data you're willing to transmit, and you get the hashed value. Okay. Now there is one such algorithm called bcrypt. Okay. And it has a feature called salting, which is something that we'll talk about. But bcrypt is an algorithm that is often used, and it is considered as secure algorithm, wherein using bcrypt, you can take a message, you can pass it through the algorithm, and you'll get a encrypted message. Okay. And bcrypt is one of the most popular algorithm that is used widely. Okay. So if you read about hashing online, it's unlikely you won't come across a bcrypt. Okay. And it has a process called salting. Okay. So let me tell you what is salting. So salting helps increase security. How? So what happens is normally you would hash this particular value, right? So you have programming and you would hash it into something using the algorithm called bcrypt. Okay. Now what salting would do is it would add an additional layer of security, which means like you have this string. Okay. So you would add a random string over here, randomly generated string or any data, which is known as salt. Okay. And then together these two will be used to convert into hashed value. Okay. So password, or so this can be a password as well, or any sort of data. Okay. Normally passwords are encrypted. Okay. That is where encryption is used, hashing is used. Okay. All of that. So any sensitive data, but if you're working on any sort of application, like for example, banking application, where like a lot of stuff is hashed, you may hash a phone number. okay, of a user if you are working on a security grade application, something like that. Okay, so programming here, let's say it's a password, you would add some salt to it, and then these two would be hashed together using bcrypt. Okay, and this process is known as salting, and this thing makes this algorithm even more secure. Okay, because for every hashing that happens, the salt changes, so you cannot predict what the salt is. The message can be same, but if you add different salt, the output would be different. So here you have programming plus this salt, which is XWZ78. Okay, if you add some other salt over here like this, okay, then you will get a different value. So you can see over here this value is different. Okay, that is how the entire process works of salting, and this is how it processes this is how it makes sending data easy and in a secure way. So if you are storing this, let's say, or if you're transmitting this data over a network, you can transmit the hash value. Or if you're storing this password, let's say programming is a password. If you store this as a raw text, it would be readable. But if you hash it and encrypt it, something like this, wherein you add salt and then you convert it into hashed value, then this is not readable, right? Nobody can tell what your password is, right? Unless and until it's reverse engineered. So this is much more secure way of storing passwords. And this is even used to send some data which you don't want others to understand over a network. Okay, so that's hashing, and that's about bcrypt and the process of salting. So I hope this was useful. Now it's time that we implement encoding or encrypting into our application. So right now I have this application up and running. I have the users being created over here. So these are the users that are being created into the database using JDBC User Details Manager. Now, if you come over to the H2 database, okay, or H2 console, I should say, and if you log into the H2 console and then if you query the users table here, you will see users table having this data. So the passwords are stored in this way. Now, this is not actually a good way to store passwords because these passwords are readable and anyone who has access to the database can access this information, which is not good. So passwords need to be encrypted, and there has to be one more layer of security that we need to add to as a best practice essentially. And it's not good to have passwords being stored in plain text format. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to encode our passwords, and we are going to make use of password encoder. Okay. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to say public, and I'm going to make use of password encoder over here. Okay. So if you hover on this is an interface. If you go over here, and this is a service interface for encoding password. Okay. And you can see the most preferred implementation is bcrypt password encoder. Okay. And yeah, so that is what it is. And if you see Control B over here, okay, so I'm not getting, okay, here you can see password encoder. Okay, bcrypt password encoder. So if you press Control B, and here this is a class which is making use of password encoder, and you can see over here this is an implementation of password encoder that uses bcrypt strong hashing function. Okay, and yeah, so this is what we are going to use over here. So I'm going to say password encoder here, and we can name the method whatever we need. Okay, so I can say password encoder over here. Okay, because that's what people normally name it, and I'm returning the instance of this interface of, so the instance has to be of type password encoder. Okay, and I'm going to say return new bcrypt encoder, right? Bcrypt password encoder. So I'm just getting it like this, and what I also need to do is I need to mark this as a bean. Okay, like so. Okay, so this is done, and we have an instance of password encoder. Okay, now in future, if you need to change the encoding algorithm, you have to just come to this bean and give that particular instance. If you have your own algorithm, so this is inbuilt, right? This is inbuilt, and within the security framework. Okay, Spring Security over here, you can see it's coming in from this package. Okay, so this is pre-built, but if you have your own algorithm or anything, you can instantiate it over here. All right, And what we are going to do is we are going to make use of this when saving password. Okay. So understand this. Here what we did is early on, we made use of this prefix over here. This prefix stands for noob. Okay. And what is noob? So the noob prefix that we are using in our password is a way to tell Spring Security password encoder that no encoding has been done. Okay. And the password should be used as it is. Okay. This is useful if you're building a demo application where you don't want to encode stuff. Okay. But normally you would get rid of this. Okay. And what we would do is we would say over here, within this, we would say password encoder, and you'll say dot encode. And within this, you'll pass in the password that you wish to encode, something like this. Okay. This is done. And I would copy this, okay, and I would come over here and I would paste it over here. I would remove noob from here and I would add a closing bracket over here. So this is done, all right. And let us see how this works. Okay, so we'll rerun our application and we'll check how the values are being stored in the database. So we did not get any error, you can see. Now if you come over here, this is how we were seeing the password currently. And if I say refresh and if I connect again and if I go to users table, you can see this is the password now. Okay. So yeah, this is not readable now, and anyone who is having access to the database cannot read what the password is. Okay. So this is really helpful over here. Okay. And you can imagine as to how, so you must have seen a lot of applications doing this, right? And in Spring or in Spring Boot, this is how you do it. Okay, so you hardly like made use of inbuilt classes that you had, inbuilt implementations, and you just made use of a method over here to get this encoding done. Okay, and this is automatically making use of salt and everything. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. All right, so yeah, this is about password encoding. I hope this was useful.
Welcome to this video, and in this particular video we are going to cover the most requested topic. Okay, any guesses? Okay, you must have read the video title, but I'll tell you, it's going to be about JWT. Yes, JWT authentication with Spring Boot. So a lot of my students reached out to me, a lot of my viewers, and they were like, hey, you should create a video on Spring Security, you should create a video on JWT, when are you doing it? So I thought I'll bring it. Okay. So that's what this video is going to be all about. So we are going to cover JWT from scratch. Okay, we are going to understand what JWT is, why it exists, and what limitations of the current security in our project JWT covers. Okay, so all that stuff. Along with, we are going to do a hands-on implementation into our project that we are building. And I'm going to explain you everything line by line. So we are going to write our own custom filters, or we are going to write JWT helpers and everything. So all of this I'm going to cover in this video. Also, if you're new to this channel, then you should head over to description to check out the link to the entire playlist. So this video is a part of a playlist on Spring Security, where we cover Spring Security right from scratch to the advanced topics. So be sure to take the benefit of the entire course over here. Okay, so that's about this video. Like I said, this video is going to be about JWT, and if that sounds exciting to you, you should immediately hit the like button of this video and support my work. Also, you should subscribe and turn on the bell notification icons to like stay updated, of course, from stay updated about what I'm posting next and all the updates I usually do on the channel. Okay, so let me tell you, there are some awesome courses, awesome stuff packed in, and I'm actually working on them right now. So I'll be posting them soon once they are ready. So be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification icon. Okay, so yeah, that's what this video is going to be about. And if you're watching this far, then you should leave a comment introducing yourself, who you are, where are you joining from, what do you do currently, and what sort of videos you would like to see on this channel. So I read all the comments that you all post, and many people request a lot of courses, and I have a list actually of the upcoming courses that I am supposed to work on on this particular channel. So that list is influenced by all your comments. So if you're commenting and leaving a request, then you are actually influencing that list. So leaving a comment actually is an opportunity for you to influence the list of upcoming courses coming on this channel. Okay, so be sure to leave a comment. I would be happy to know you more. Okay, so yeah, without further ado, let's jump right in and let's talk about JWT.
So now it's time that we start talking about JWT or JWT authentication. And before talking about this concept, it's best that we talk about how things work without JWT, and we'll understand how things work, and this will also help us clarify as to why this concept of JWT is needed. So first point, current authentication that we have essentially, or normal authentication that we have in Spring Boot, like in-memory or JDBC authentication, it does not have advanced feature. So one of the advanced feature that I can talk about is expiration time. Okay, so if you have authorized someone to your system, there is no expiry of that authorization, right? So let's say if you want to expire or if you want to take away the authorization like in a day or so, there's no way to do that unless and until you customize it. Okay, and without like the normal authentication or the normal hashing encryption that happens, it can be decoded. Okay, and there are ways to do that. Also, if you want to have a secure system, one way is like to have your own token system. Okay, now what token system means is, if you have a user, let's say, and that user has access to the system, okay, you have authorized that user. So instead of asking for username password always, what you would do is you would give that user a token. It's like a ticket essentially. And whenever that user presents that ticket, you are going to give him access to your application features. Okay, so that is what known as token system. Okay, now if you create something like a token system, and why would you create token system? So that he or she or the user does not have to share the username and password every time he tries to access the system. So he'll share it once, he'll get the token, and then next time for any sort of API request, he'll just present the token, right? And if you want to have advanced feature in this token system like the expiration time and all, and also with a strong encryption or strong hashing, then in that case you will have to implement a custom token system. Now the problem with custom token system is it's custom to you, right? Like the world isn't aware, there is no standard in this. Okay, and this is where JWT comes into picture. Okay, so JWT or JWT, so I'll refer to this as JWT. Okay, JWT stands for JSON Web Token. And what is JSON Web Token? It's a sort of token mechanism using which you give authorization or you authorize your users essentially. Okay, and JSON Web Tokens are open and industry standards. Okay, it's a industry standard and anyone can implement it in their application. Okay, that's something that you need to understand. Let us talk about how JWT works. So there are two things in the system. Like one is the user, another one is the server where your code resides. Now user is the user who wants to access your system, right? So what user would do is it will send a request along with, it will try to log in. It will send the request along with username and password to the server. Okay. And this would be on a specific endpoint. So for example, a sign-in endpoint. You can have a sign-in endpoint and user will send the username and password to the server. What server will do is it will take a look at the username and password. It will authenticate it using Spring Security and it will generate a token. This token is the ticket that I was talking about. So this ticket or token is issued to the user as the response if it is a valid user. Okay. Now what user does is it has sent the username password and it got the token from the server. Now with every request or any sort of request it wants to do to the server, it is going to send that particular token to the server, right? What server will do is server will take a look at the token. It will validate the token, whether the request is valid. And if it's valid, then it is going to authorize the user and it is going to send the response. And if there is the token is not valid, if that's the case, then it will raise an error. Okay, this is how this entire process of JWT works. So first, if you are trying to access the APIs, you have to first get the token. You have to and server will generate the token. It will issue it to you. You have to take the token and you have to send it in the APIs, like every API. So you don't need to enter your username and password always. Okay, it's just a token that you have to present to the server to tell server that, hey, I'm a valid user. All right. So this is how JWT works, and this is how the entire process takes place. Okay. Now let's talk about how token is sent. Okay. So how is token sent? Token is normally sent using the HTTP authorization header. So in the HTTP request, so request is normally transmitted over the HTTP protocol, right? And there is something called as headers. So you can add your own header with the key, and the key name is, you can see the key name is authorization, and the value would be bearer space token. This is what the value would be. Okay, so this is how the token is sent to the server, and server will basically read this entire thing in the format and it will validate it. Okay, this is about JWT and how it works, and here is an example of a JWT token. So this is a token that I have, and you can see over here there are 3 color codes. Okay, so this part is a red color, this is purple, and this is blue. Now talking about individual parts, this red part is a header. Okay, and header typically consists of 2 parts, the type of the token, which is JWT, and the signing algorithm used. So you can have SHA-256 or RSA, different algorithms which is being used to sign this particular token. Okay, then you have the payload. Okay, so payload contains the claims, and this will include specific information about the users, like user ID, username, permissions, and any sort of metadata that can be added in this particular part, which is payload. Okay, third part is the signature. Okay, and signature is like a secret. Okay, and it's appended in the end of the entire token. Okay, so this is what a token looks like. Okay, and you can see this is how it is. So you have this token on the left hand side, and here you have the decoded version. So this is the encoded version of the token, and here you have the decoded version. You can see like this particular token has or is being signed using this algorithm. The authorization for this, or the username, is admin over here. Okay, you have the expiration time. Okay, this is all in Unix time format. Okay, and then you have some signature related information over here. Okay, so this is what JWT is all about. Let me take you to the website. So now here on the website, like on Google itself, you can search for JWT and you will be landing on this website, jwt.io. You can see JSON Web Token. This is what JWT is, and these are open industry standard. Okay, and they are used for representing claims between 2 secure parties. Okay, and this particular website allows you to decode and verify and generate JWT. Okay, and if you scroll down, you can see like different algorithms that can be used for signing. Okay, you have like the encoded part, which is the token. So if you paste a token here, you can see the decoded version of token. So you can see the type over here. Okay, so one second, this is the algorithm and the type. Then you have the payload, which is the name. You can see the name is John Doe. So this is the subject to whom the token refers to. Okay, and all of that you have what is this? So this is the timestamp issued at. Okay, which is I at, and this is the time format. Okay, then you have the signature related information. Okay, so all of this is here, and you can see this is how token is, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so I hope you have a clear understanding of JWT and how it works. So let's talk about the implementation of JWT and understand how we would be implementing it. Okay, so implementing involves quite a few files. Okay, I would say like we'll be creating at least 3 files to implement and write code. Okay, and normally people get overwhelmed, so this is one of my attempts to break it down into simple steps and try to explain you as to why we would be creating this file, why would be creating that, and all of that. Okay, so here this is what we are going to do. Okay, so there are 3 main files that we are going to need. One is JWT utils. This is a file. auth token filter. This is another file, auth entry point JWT. Okay, so these are the different classes that we'll be creating. Okay, and of course there is security config file as well, where we would be managing the configuration. So that I have highlighted separately. Okay, let's talk about each file and let's understand the importance of each. So the first file, JWT utils. This particular file is going to have the utility methods for generating, parsing and validating JWTs. Okay. So of course you will be doing a lot of operations with, like you would want to generate JWT tokens, parse them. You might want to validate them. Okay. So if any user is sending in a token in a request, how do you know that's valid or not? Right. So you need to validate it. And this is where you would need this particular class created, wherein you would have these helper methods or utility methods, you can say. Okay. And you'll have all these methods defined in this class. Okay. And this would also include like generating a token from the username and extracting the username from the token. Okay. So if you remember, we would be sending JWT as the authorization header, right? And we are going to have bearer, space, and the token, right? So you need to remove bearer and the space to get the token itself, right? So that you can validate it. So this extraction will also be happening in this particular utils class. Okay. Then you are going to have auth token filter. Now, what is auth token filter? So of course, if there is a request coming in, it goes through a series of filters, right? And you need to add your own custom filter over here. So we'll be writing our own custom filter to intercept the request and do the validation with the help of JWT utils that we have created. Okay. And if the request is valid, we would be setting the authentication context as well. Okay. So this file is going to have operations such as a validation, and it is going to essentially be a filter that will be intercepting the request, and it will help us get the token and then set the context as well. Okay. So this is the custom filter that we'll be making. And then you have auth entry point JWT. Okay. Now this would provide a custom handling for unauthorized requests. So there is a possibility, like if you are getting a lot of requests using tokens, then there is a possibility like some token might have expired or some token might not be valid. So how do you handle those requests? So this is the handler that is going to be there. And whenever the authentication information is not valid, you will be defining the logic as to how that is supposed to be handled. Okay. And if there is an issue in the authentication and if it's not valid, then you can log the error and return the JSON response with the error message, status code, and even the URL endpoint or the path that was attempted to access. Okay. So this is what it's going to be about. These are 3 files. Then we have security config. Okay. So security config, we are going to have security config file that is going to configure the filters and the rules of the application. So like I said, we are going to have a custom filter, right? Auth token filter is a custom filter. Okay. We need to tell Spring Security that, hey, this is a custom filter that you need to consider. And here is how, and here is when you need to execute it. So you need to essentially set up the security filter chain. Okay. And you need to also have the configuration as to how the authentication would work. There is some configuration work that we'll be doing in this particular config file. Okay, so these are the changes that we'll be working on, and this is the importance of each and every file that we are going to write. So let's talk about how can you set up the project to work with JWT, and this would involve adding all the dependencies that you would need. So right now, here we are in the pom.xml. Okay, so in pom.xml, we don't have the dependencies added for JWT. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the browser, and you can search for JWT GitHub Maven. Okay. So the moment you search for this, you'll see this Java JWT, which is like a JSON web token for Java and Android. Okay. So this is the repository, the official repository on GitHub. You can even search for this official repository on the github.com. Okay. You can see this is the name of it. Okay. So if you scroll down over here, you're going to see a lot of documentation over here. Okay, you can see, And there are a lot of things, and you can read if you want to. But I'm going to quickly go to installation, and here you can see JDK projects Maven. So you can select installation, and under JDK projects you have Maven, and here you can see these dependencies that exist. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these dependencies. Okay, this is done, and then you can come over here and you can add these dependencies onto your project. Okay, something like this. The moment you add this, of course, Gradle sync is, Maven sync is important and necessary, and you should see like some processing happening, and all the corresponding dependencies would be added into your project. You can see over here. Okay, you can see like these are all JWT related dependencies. So this is how you can add the dependencies. Okay. If you go to start.spring.io, you won't see JWT over here. Okay, so that's why we have to go to the official repo or GitHub, and you have to get it from there. Okay, so yeah, do remember the repo name over here. Okay, it's JWT. You can see. Okay, and this is the URL over here. You can also search on github.com. Okay, so yeah, this is about how you can configure your project to work with JWT. So right now, what we have done is we have configured the JWT dependencies into our project. And as a next step, what we need to do is we need to add a helper class. Okay, and that helper class is going to be JWT utils. This is going to have all the utility methods for generating and managing and working with JWT tokens. All right. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add a package over here. So it's best that you have all the JWT related code in a separate package called JWT. Okay. So I'm going to have that here, and then I can create a new Java class. I'll call this class as JWT utils. Okay. I'll add it to the tracking system, and over here, what I would do is I would switch over to this notepad, and in this notepad, I have the entire source code, as you can see. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'll copy this entire thing. Okay. I'll copy this and I'll paste it over here. Something like this. Okay. So this is the entire source for JWT utils. Now we will go through the entire source code over here. So the file begins by this is a logger that I'm creating. Okay, so that's absolutely fine. But over here, you can see this is defined as a component. Okay, and if you scroll down here you are creating two variables. One is JWT expiration millisecond, and here you have the secret for JWT, and this is a secret that will be used for signing the tokens. Okay, so we'll go through every method. Okay, and this is fetching in. So these values are being fetched in from the application properties file. So you need to configure this as well. Okay. So we'll scroll down. We'll talk about the first method. And this particular method right now is for getting the JWT token from the HTTP header. Okay. So what we're doing over here is we have the request as the parameter, which is HTTP servlet request. And from the request, we are getting the header. And the header name is authorization. So to explain you, I'll switch over to Postman here. Okay, so here we have this hello request. What we are going to do is we are going to pass in token here under header, and we are going to add this authorization as key over here. And we are going to check this, and we are going to have the token over here. So we are going to say bearer space, and here we are going to have the token. Okay, so this is how it's going to pass. So you need to get this authorization from the header, and that is what we are doing over here with the help of this particular line over here. Okay, so we are getting the header from the request, and the header name is authorization, right? And then here, what we are doing is we are checking if the bearer token is not equal to null, and the bearer token starts with bearer space. Okay. So if both the values are true, then what we are doing is we are getting the substring Okay, we are getting the substring, and we are getting it from the index 7. So we are excluding this bearer space from the entire string. Okay, and we are returning just a token. Okay, otherwise we are returning null over here. Okay, so the logic is clear, I hope. What we are doing is we are simply getting the JWT from the header. So we are extracting the JWT token from the header, and that is what this entire method is for. Okay, if you scroll down, you have a method over here which is going to generate the token from the username. Okay, so what we are doing is we have a parameter over here which is user details. Okay, this is an object user details. We are getting the username from the user details, and then we are making use of this particular thing over here. So this line of code, okay, we are making use of JWTs, okay, JWTs. So if you hover on this, okay, this is a class, okay, and this is coming in from io.json web token package, and this is coming in from our dependency. So we are building a token, and we are setting different things over here. So we are setting in the subject, okay, then we are setting in the issue time. We are setting in the expiration as well. So what we are doing here over here is with this line, we are getting the current date and time, and then we are adding in the expiration that we had defined over here in milliseconds. Okay, and that is the expiry that we are setting over here, and then we are signing it with a key, and this is a method that we have defined over here at the bottom. Okay, we are signing it with key, and we are saying dot compact. Okay, so what this will do is this will actually build the JWT and serialize it to compact URL safe string according to the serialization standards over here or rules over here. That is what this method does. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. If you scroll down over here, you're going to see get username from JWT token. Okay, so this is a method that will be used over here to get the username from the token. So here we are generating the token from the username, and here we are getting the username from the token. Okay, so we are extracting the username in a way, and like you can say we are decoding. Okay, so whenever we are creating the JWT, you are actually setting the subject as username. And what we are doing over here is we are saying JWT.parser.verify with, and then you are saying build over here. Okay, so one second, let me format this better so that it's much more readable. Okay, you will say build over here. Okay, and then you are like getting the payload and then the subject. Okay, so this is what you are doing over here. Okay, so you're saying JWT.parser. Okay, you are verifying it with the key, you're building, you're doing this over here, and then you are getting the payload and the subject over here. Okay, so you are actually making use of this. Okay, so these are all inbuilt methods you can see. Okay, it is parsing the JWS argument expected. So essentially this is actually building and then enabling you to get the payload, and from within the payload you are getting the subject. Okay, so that's what it is doing over here. If you scroll down, this is the key. Okay, and you are setting up the key for signing JWT. Okay, so that is what you're doing over here, and here there's a method where we are validating the JWT token. Okay, so we have some println statements over here, and if you don't want, you can get rid of them. That's absolutely fine. But here we are verifying it. So you are making use of parser, verifying it with the secret key, and then you're building it, and then you're making use of token over here. Okay, something like this. And you have different exceptions set up over here, and if it's not validated or verified, you return false simply. Okay, so this is what you are doing over here, and these are all the methods that you need to work with JWT. So you're going to make use of these methods at different point in time. Okay, and now it's time. What we should do is we would set up these configuration properties. So these are the couple of configuration properties like secret and expiration millisecond. Okay, now we would be needing both these parameters or configuration properties. So what I would do is I would copy these and I would go to application properties here. Okay, and over here I would add both these. Okay, something like this. Okay, so here and here. All right, And here I need to define the secret over here. Okay, so secret can be any sort of secret. So I can say my secret key 123 exclamation hash, and I can have some random numbers. Okay, so you can have a secret key of your choice here, which is secret to you. And here you can have the expiration millisecond. So expiration millisecond, you can like actually, I'll just have a very large number over here because I don't want my JWT key to expire quickly, right? Since we are doing development. But when you move this to production, be sure to have valid values over here. Okay. And this should be the actual expiration that you want to set in your application. And this is actually in milliseconds, ms. Okay. So keep this in mind. We have these two properties defined, and with the help of @value over here, what we are doing is we are fetching it from the properties. We can even initialize it over here, but I believe that is not the best way to do things, right? You should have properties over here when you're doing development, and when you're deploying it, you should ideally supply it with the help of environmental variables. Okay, that is really important. All right. So yeah, that's our helper class for working with JWT. This is like the main class, I should say. It has a lot of stuff, and all these methods are important. Okay. So I hope this was useful. Also, I should highlight one thing. All these methods have been like worked or have been modified and taken care to work with the latest versions of JWT. So let me tell you, there's a lot of code you will find on the internet. Okay. And the latest version of JWT that is available today, there have been a lot of methods that have been deprecated. Okay. And a lot of better stuff has come in. So you are not seeing any sort of errors or warnings over here in this code. Okay. And that is because I have done research and like updated or I have worked on this and made sure that everything works with the latest versions of the code. So that is something that you need to also understand, because this will work with the latest version, and all the methods that I'm using are the latest ones, and I'm not making use of any deprecated stuff over here. Okay, so something for you to know. All right, so that's about this class, and I hope this was useful. So now it's time that we talk about this filter, which is the auth token filter. Okay, and this will be a custom filter that we'll be building that will be specific to JWT. Okay, and what it will do is it will intercept the incoming request to check for a valid JWT token. And if the token is valid, only then it will allow the request to proceed. Okay, so this is something that we are building very custom. Okay, and to implement this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this source code over here, or this file over here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this entire thing, come over here, and I'm going to go to the JWT package here. I'm going to call this as auth token filter over here. Okay, and I'll just paste it over here. Okay, so yeah, this is done, and let us go through the entire file over here. Okay, so yeah, these are all the import statements like we know. Okay, then this is where the definition of this class starts. Okay, and this is where we are saying the class extends one request per filter. Okay, sorry, it's not one request per filter. I'm sorry, it's once per request filter. Okay, so what this means is this is a class provided by Spring Security. If you hover on this, okay, so you can see this is a class provided by Spring Security itself. It is coming in from org.springframework web filter. Okay, and this is a class that makes sure that this particular filter executes only once per request. Okay, and this filter is typically used when you want to perform certain actions or apply logic only once per HTTP request. You can read more about this from the documentation over here. Okay, you can see over here this entire piece of documentation here, but that is what essentially it means. Okay, so we are executing this once per request. Okay, and make a note over here, this is a component. Okay, so this is a Spring managed component allowing Spring to handle its life cycle. Okay, here we are auto wiring a couple of things. Okay, we are doing field injections over here, and we are automatically auto wiring the instances of JWT utils and user details service over here. Okay. And what is happening over here is, so this is actually marked as a component over here. So this is actually Spring managed. Okay. So this will be auto wired, and user details service is inbuilt. Okay. It's coming in from org Spring Framework Security Core. Okay. And it is actually an interface. Okay. Over here is what you can see. Okay. This is a logger. Okay. It's not mandatory. You can skip this if you wish to. But here we have the actual implementation over here. Okay. So this is the do filter internal. This is the method that is being overridden. Okay. And this is coming in from this once per request filter over here. Okay. So we are overriding this. Okay. And what we are doing over here is we are getting request, we are getting response, and we are getting the filter chain over here. Okay. And if you see over here, we have a try catch block to begin with. Okay. A try catch block. Now within the try, what we are doing is we are first parsing the JWT token. Okay. Or I should say we are extracting the JWT over here. Okay. Parse is the method. We are actually calling parse JWT to extract the JWT token. Now, if you scroll down, this method is something that we have defined in this class itself. Okay. What this method does is, you can see there are a couple of operations. It calls get JWT from header, and it is passing the request object over here. Okay. What is get JWT from header? It is this method that we have in JWT utils, and the job of this method is to extract the token and return it in the string format. You can see it's returning in the string format. It is removing the pair prefix over here. Okay. So here, if you see, we are getting the JWT over here. We are logging it, and then we are returning the JWT. Okay. And then we have JWT in this particular method here. Okay. So far, so good. Okay. Now we begin the validation process over here. So here we are saying if JWT is not equal to null. Okay. And if it's a valid token. So this method is again coming in from this class over here, validate token. Okay. So if this is true, only then what you do is get username from JWT. Okay. We are getting the username from JWT, and this is a method again defined in JWT utils here. Okay. So if you scroll up, get username from JWT, we get the username as string. Okay. And what we are doing is we are loading the user details. Okay, so if you see over here, we are loading the user details based on the username that we have extracted from JWT. All right. And then if you scroll down over here, okay, we are making use of authentication token over here. So username, password, authentication token. Okay. And we are creating the authentication over here, which authentication is the object name. Okay. And we are passing in the user details along with the authorities. Now, what does authority mean? Authority means like what sort of rules does this user have? Like, for example, if you go to config over here, we have set the authorities over here. Like, for example, role is user, role is admin, and so on. Right? We've done this. So that authority we are getting over here, we are passing in over here. Credentials are null, and we are passing in the user detail object over here. Okay. I'm simply logging in the rules from the JWT over here just for debugging purpose. But if you don't want, you can get rid of this. Okay. This is just for debugging. Okay. So we are getting the authentication token created. And then what we are doing is we are setting the details over here. So with this line over here, what we are doing is we are actually enhancing the authentication object, I should say. Okay. So we have this authentication object created with user details and the authorities. Okay. This is like the token essentially, username, password, authentication token. Okay. So we are enhancing this token over here with additional details that we are getting from the request. Okay. Like, for example, session ID and all. So all of that we are setting into the authentication token. Okay. And then we are setting the security context over here. Okay. So we are taking the object and we are setting the security context, if effectively authenticating the user for the duration of the request. And if you scroll up and if you hold control and if you go into this class username, password, authentication token, you'll know that this is an implementation that is designed. So this is an implementation of authentication over here. You can see that is designed for simple presentation of username and password. Okay. And this is actually the authentication object is what you can say over here. Okay. And once the user is validated, okay, once the validation is done, we are creating this object and we are setting this in the security context. Okay. So this is how it is being set. Okay. And yeah, this is what it happens. And then we have a catch block to catch any sort of exception over here. Okay. And then we have this particular line. Okay. So this line says filter chain dot do filter request and response. So what we did over here is this was a custom filter that we added in between, right? We added a custom filter. So what this line will do is it will say continue the filter chain, and this is a request and this is a response object. Okay. So it is essentially telling that this is the last, sorry, this is not the last filter, but this is telling like you continue this filter chain because this was added somewhere in between, right? This was a custom filter that we have added. And this is something that we'll be configuring the addition of filter in the security config. We have not yet done this, but we are adding this somewhere in the filter chain and we are instructing with this line that, hey, continue the filter chain as usual. Okay. That is what we are doing. And then if you come over here, this method is just to parse JWT. Okay. So this is actually the method or the filter, I would say, that enables you to work with or to intercept the request that is coming in, and it intercepts every request to check if it is authenticated. Okay. And you can see this filter chain is coming in as a parameter over here. Okay. This is response is also coming in over here along with request. Okay. So yeah, this is about the auth token filter, and I hope this is useful and I hope this is clear as to how this is working. So now it's time that we talk about another class, which is auth entry point JWT. Okay. So this is a class that we are going to use, and it is going to provide us with some custom handling for unauthorized requests. And this class will be invoked typically when authentication is required, but the authentication that is supplied is either not valid or it is not supplied at all. So whenever there is an unauthorized request detected, that is when this class method is going to be invoked. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and here, in fact, in Notepad, I have this class ready here. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add this class over here. Okay. And I'm going to call this as auth entry point JWT. I'm going to paste it over here. Something like this. Okay. So this is done. Okay. And what you can do is you can add something like this, and we'll go through every line. Okay. So it starts with component. Okay. Which means it's a Spring managed component now. Okay. We have the class definition here. Okay. We have logger being created here. Now we have this commence method, which we are overriding. Okay. Where are we overriding it from? So we are actually implementing the authentication entry point, and this indicates that this particular class will provide custom handling for authentication related error. So that is what it tells. So if you're implementing, or if you want to provide custom handling for authentication related errors, you need to implement this interface. Okay. And you can see over here, there's not much in the documentation, but yeah, it has commence method over here that will have request, response, and authentication exception as well. Okay. So what you would do over here is, once the exception has occurred, okay, you would override this. Okay. And this particular method will be invoked. Okay. And if you scroll over here, first thing what we are doing is we are setting up the response. Okay. So we are setting up the content type. So I'm actually printing and logging few things over here. Okay. This is not mandatory. So I'll just get rid of this. Okay. We are actually setting the response over here. Okay. We are setting up the content type and the authorization over here. Sorry, not the authorization. This is status. Okay, the status over here, and you can see this is SC unauthorized, right? This is 401, and then we are creating a hash map over here where we are putting in a few things like status, error message, and the actual message, and the path over here. Okay, so path means the URL that the user was trying to access. Okay, so this is custom that we are creating, and we are going to send this as a response over here. Okay, so that is what we are doing, and that is how we are handling. You can add your own handling mechanism over here specific to your project. Okay, but we are handling it this way. We are simply returning a hash map over here. Okay, and you can see this body is being sent or it's being mapped actually to it's actually being mapped into JSON format, and it's being written to the response output stream over here. Okay, that is what is happening, and this is what this method, or sorry, not this method, this class actually helps with. Okay, so I hope this is clear, and I hope you understand the significance of this class here. So now it's time that we begin talking about the sign-in flow. Okay, so what happens normally is user would try to log in, and this is the flow wherein user would call the sign-in endpoint. Okay, and typically what happens is he passes in the username and password through a endpoint. Normally it's the /signin endpoint, and then once the user is authorized, the token is generated. Okay, and the token is issued to the user. So this endpoint we need to create to get the token. Okay, and that can be /signin. And what I'm going to do is here in the project, I am going to create an endpoint in the greetings controller here, this point here. Okay, and I have some code already written for this. Okay, we'll go through the entire thing line by line. Okay, and of course we also have login request. So this is the DTO, you can say, or the request structure, you can say over here. Okay, of course we are making use of getters and setters over here. We can make use of Lombok if you wish to, and if you're aware of what Lombok is, that's absolutely fine. You can make use of Lombok, but I have used the getters and setters. That's absolutely okay. Important is you learn what is being taught. Okay, you can actually modify this code to get Lombok into picture. Okay, so login request here and login response here. So this is the login response. So in request, you can see we are getting the username and password. Okay, so user will pass in the username and the password, and in the response, we give JWT token as the response along with username and the list of roles. Okay, so this is the response structure that we have. Okay, and these are the getters and setters for the same. Okay, so let's go through each and everything and let's move this code into our application. So I would copy this entire thing. Okay, this entire piece of code here. I'll head over to the greetings controller, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually paste it over here. Okay, here in the end. Okay, we see a lot of red marks. That's absolutely fine. We need to import a lot of stuff here. So I'll just go ahead and import everything. Okay, so here you can see request body. Here you have authentication. I'll import this class. Okay, and you can see this. There are multiple authentications here, but you need to get the security core one. Okay, authentication manager. So this is the local variable that we need to create. This is something we'll be creating shortly. Okay, username, password, authentication token. I'll import this. Authentication exception, import this. This will come in from security core. Okay, hash map, import. HTTP status also import. Okay, hash map is coming in from, okay, I guess let me do control Z. Okay, and hash map is, we need to import it from, so I'll import it from util. Okay, and then I need to even get the map over here. Okay, from util. HTTP status is something that will import. Security context holder, import user details. Okay, we need to create a parameter of type user details. Okay, but I'll just import this for now. JWT Utils. So this is the class that we have, and we need to create an object of the same. Okay, I'll get this list imported, collectors imported. Login response is something that we'll create. Okay, so these things are done. Okay, now here at the top, what we need to do is there are quite a few imports that we have added. Okay, now what we need to do is here at the top, I will add some variables. So we need authentication manager. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to come at the top of the class. Okay, and I need to add a authentication manager. So I'm going to say here, so it's authentication manager. You can see this one over here. Okay, and something like, okay, it will be authentication manager, something like this. Okay, and then you will have JWT utils. Okay, like this, and you will create an object of the same. Okay, something like this. Okay, and you will mark these two as private. Okay, private. Okay, and you can auto wire them. Auto wired. I'll auto wire this thing as well. Okay, you can even do a constructor injection if you wish to, but I'll just get them auto wired. Okay, and you can see JWT utils. Okay, what happened? Okay, it's named as utils, so it should be JWT utils. And authentication manager, I guess, is, so we were getting an error over here. So yeah, this is gone. So now there are two errors left. One is login request and other is login response. Okay, so what I would do is I will create a class called login request here. I'll say login request, something like this. And what I would do is I would come over here. I would get this code. Okay, login request. And I'll paste it over here. This is done. This is login request. And then now you can get the login response. So I'll go over here. And I can go over here. Login response. Okay, and you can import this from util. Okay, so this is done. Now coming back to the controller, you just need to import these two classes. Okay, so request is imported and the response is also imported. Okay, so yeah, this is done. Okay, and let us go through what we just did. Okay, so I'll tell you first, login request over here. Okay, there is, so let me get rid of this. Here, if you see, okay, login request is something that I closed, I guess. Okay, here. So what is login request? This is the format of the request that we get for logging in from the users. Okay, and this is the class that represents the request that you get. Okay, so you can see username, password, and like I said, we have getters and setters. You can make use of Lombok. That's absolutely fine. Login response. You have JWT token. So in the response, you will send the username with JWT token and you will send the list of roles. Okay. You can customize this depending on yourself. Okay. Now you'll come to greetings controller. Okay. So here, what we are doing is this particular controller method is mapped to the sign-in API. Okay. And first thing, what we are doing is we have this structure over here, like the method structure. So we are making use of post request and we have login request as the input. So the request body is supposed to be in the form of login request over here. Okay. And then over here we have the authentication object created. Okay. Now authentication object is created, and if you hover on this, this is coming in from the security core package. Okay. So this is the core authentication object that exists in Spring Security. And here, what we are doing is we are making use of authentication manager to authenticate this user. Okay. And what is happening is using username password authentication token, a token is created. Okay. And this is created with the help of the username and password. Okay. So you create a token first and then you authenticate the users. Okay. And there is a possibility of you getting the authentication exception. And in that case, you are throwing this error or you're sending this response that not found, bad credentials. Okay. So this is something that you are doing. If you're not getting an error, and if you happen to go through this try block, then in that case, you are setting the authentication in the security context. So you have the authentication object being set in the security context holder to establish the security context for the session. Okay. And this is crucial as it officially marks that the user is authenticated in the Spring security context. And context is what is referred every time. Okay. Then you have user details over here. Okay. What we do over here is we retrieve the user details and we generate the JWT. Okay. So from the authentication object, we are getting the principal. Okay. And we are casting it to user details object. What is user details? It is the part of our security core package here in Spring Security. And then we are making use of JWT utils to generate a JWT token from the user name. Okay. So if you talk about the flow, we are authenticating first. If the authentication is valid, we set the context, and then with the help of user details, we are generating the JWT token. So JWT token is only generated if the user is authenticated. And then what we do is we get the list of roles because we need to pass this roles in the response, right? So if you take a look at the response structure, you are giving roles. And if you are removing this, or if you don't want to give roles, then you can get rid of this line. Okay. Then what we do is we have the response crafted. So we have the roles in our hand. We have the JWT token and we have the user details from where we can get the username. And if you take a look at the response, you need JWT token, you need username, and you need roles. And all these things we have now. And then what we do is we create a login response object, you can see, with these parameters. And we send the response status as OK along with this response. Okay. So I hope this is making sense now. Okay. So this entire method is fundamental in a way like it helps you set the authentication flow from initial authentication to issuing JWT token, to setting up the security context, and to send back the feedback on authentication to the user. Okay, so this is what it is, and this is how the entire method works. Okay, and here you are doing a really good job of having a DTO created, or a response structure and a login structure, like a request structure created. Okay. And you can directly like create a string over here and return it as well. Okay. But I won't say that's a good practice. It's best to have a separate request and response classes and DTOs set up. So yeah, I hope this is making sense now. Okay. And this was the first step over here. User tries to log in, token generation, token is issued to the user. Okay. And then in the subsequent request, the token has to be sent by the user. Okay. So I hope this was useful and you were able to follow along. So now it's time that we make some changes into our security configuration and we get whatever we have built to work. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll switch over to my notepad here. And here I have some code that we'll be making changes with. So first thing is we are going to expose the bean of our token filter over here. Okay, which is like authentication JWT token filter, and we'll make use of that method over here. Okay, we'll also expose the authentication manager, and we have some changes here in the filter chain. So what I would do is I will copy this filter chain method here, this entire method here until this. Okay, I'll come over here. Okay. And here I have this filter chain. So I'll just copy this entire piece of code, something like this. And I'll paste it. Okay. Now you'll see few red marks. Okay. And that's completely fine. Okay. We are getting red marks because we don't have these objects created yet. Okay. Unauthorized handler. And these all things we need to get them done. Okay. So what I will do is I will get this bean and these things added. Okay. So let me come over here. We have just data source over here. So I'll override this with this. So data source already existed, but we have added a couple more. Okay. These are all red because we need to import them. Okay. So I'll just import. All right. So this is done. The error is gone. And this thing is still giving error because we need to import it. This is done. Okay. And then we also need to expose the authentication manager bean, something like this. Okay. So I'll expose it over here. Okay. Like so. So we import all the relevant classes and we are done. Okay. Now let me take you through what we are doing over here. Okay. So first thing, we are having a couple of variables created. So one is data source. We added two more, or one more, I should say. Okay. So this is unauthorized handler. The object name is unauthorized handler, and it is a type of auth entry point JWT. Okay. So if you go over here, auth entry point JWT, this is like our method or a bean that was created to handle unauthorized access attempts. Okay. And we have a custom response over here that we were sending. So that is something we are auto injecting over here. Okay. Then we are also creating a bean over here, which is of JWT authentication filter type. And this filter will intercept the request to check for JWTs in the request header. Okay. So you can see this. Okay. This is a method. Now, if you come over here, this is the default security filter chain. We have done quite a few modifications over here, and I'll take you through the modifications. So number one is here we have defined the interceptors. Okay, so what we have done is we have first said that whenever in terms of security, we want to permit everything that comes to H2 console. Okay, we also want to permit everything if the API is sign-in API. Okay, because of course this has to be unauthorized endpoint. Only then the user will be able to sign in. Okay, this will be used for authorization, and any other request is then authenticated. Okay, so we are just permitting two endpoints over here, H2 console and sign in. So this is H2 console, and then we have sign in. Okay, this is done. Then what we do is we mark the session as stateless over here with this code. Okay, and this is suitable for REST APIs where no session state is maintained between requests. And since we are implementing JWT, it has to be stateless. Okay. Then if you come down here, what we are doing is here we are adding an exception handling mechanism. Okay. So we are saying http.exception handling. Okay. And we are saying the exception handler should be the unauthorized handler. What is unauthorized handler? It is of type created over here, auth entry point JWT, which is the custom handler that we have written. Okay, so we are adding that to the authentication entry point over here. Okay, and we are passing this handler over here. Okay, so it configures the exception handling to use the custom unauthorized handler for authentication related errors. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Then over here, what we have done is we have set the header configuration. So what we have done is we have disabled the frame, or we have set the frames to frame options to same origin, which allows the frames to be used only from the same origin. Okay, this was done for H2 console. Then if you come over here, we have disabled the CSRF. This was done again for H2 console. Okay, and now here we have added the filter over here. So what we did is the filter that we created. Okay, this is a custom filter, right, which we have created. So this filter is auth token filter, this one. This is a custom filter and it needs to be added in the filter chain, right? How would you get it added to the filter chain? So we have said HTTP add filter before. Okay, so you have said add this filter before the username password authentication filter in the filter chain. So this is the inbuilt filter that exists. Okay, username password authentication filter, and you can see it processes an authentication form submission. Okay, so just before this filter we have added our own custom filter. So in the filter chain, whenever all the filters are being executed, this one will be executed just before this one. Okay, I hope this makes sense. And this returns the filter chain. Okay, it completes the configuration and builds the security filter chain. Okay, so this is what the entire code looks like. Here we are having the bean like we had early on for user details service. Okay, we have not made any change over here, but we might need to make any change over here. but for now I'm just leaving it as it is. Okay, we have password encoder bean, which is being used for encoding password over here. And then in the end, we have authentication manager bean. So this is exposing the authentication manager as the bean, which is being used by Spring Security to handle the authentication. Okay. So yeah, I hope this is making sense, like this entire configuration that we did. There are some changes that are important. Like if you create a filter and if you don't add it in the filter chain, okay, that filter is never executed because it's not added into the filter chain. Like Spring Security, you need to tell Spring Security that, hey, this is the custom filter that I created and you need to execute it at this point. And here we are specifying exactly that point over here. Okay, so yeah, this is done. And yeah, this is our setup for the configuration of security. So I hope this was useful and I hope this was clear. So we have come with our application really far. We are done with the JWT authentication implementation. And now it's time that we test the application. But before that, there are some loose ends that you should be aware of. So here, if you see the post mapping, the endpoint is /signin. We don't have anything at the controller level, no request mapping annotation. But if you come over here to security config, what we are doing is we are saying permit /API/signin. So this is incorrect. We need to correct the URL. Just make sure that you are having the correct URLs. Okay, this is done. Now what we would do is we'll run this application. Let us see this application in action. Okay, all right, we start getting errors. And okay, so this is a number format exception. This number is very long. Okay, so and this is coming in from properties, application.properties here, where we have specified a very long expiration time. So I'll trim that out. Let us run this. Let us see how things go. Okay, we got one more error. Let us see what this error is. Okay, so this is the error which says table users not found. And this database is empty. Okay, so let us head over to security config and let us see user details. So we are creating the users over here, but still we are getting this error. If you scroll up further over here at the top, okay, you will see an error. One second. So let me go over here. You will see an error that this factory method user details service threw an error. Okay. So it is saying bad SQL grammar, okay, which means this table probably does not exist yet. But over here, we are actually creating the table. So what is the issue? So the problem over here is coming in because we are making use of user details service and we are creating this bean and we are also trying to insert the user into the database as the part of bean initialization process. And at this stage, the database might not have been fully configured, right? And that is the reason why we are getting this error. And the necessary table that we need might not have been created. Okay, and that is why we are getting that SQL exception. So what we can do is we can actually separate this user creation process. So what we can do is we can have a command line runner in use. Okay. Now you can make use of command line runner to get a part of the application execute at the application startup. Okay, and once the application context is fully set up. Okay, so if there are any initialization pending, that would be done, and only then the part within the command line runner would be executed. Okay, and you can separate this bean creation. So we need a bean of user details service over here. We are returning it. So instead of having this logic of user creation inside this entire bean initialization process, you can separate this out. So I would suggest over here, you have this kind of a logic here. Okay, so I'll move this logic or move this code over here to this file and let me show it to you what I mean. I'll paste it over here. Okay, and you can see I'm making use of command line runner. You can import this. Okay, command line runner. It is coming in from org spring framework.boot. If you hover on this, you can see it's an interface. Okay, so what we are doing is we have added two methods. One is the creation of the bean. We are creating a bean over here. Okay, here also we were returning the bean. Okay, so bean was getting created after inserting the user. But here we are quickly creating the bean instead. And then we are making use of command line runner initialize data over here. This is also bean. Okay, and this will be executed on the application startup. Okay, and this execution will happen after all the initialization have been done. Okay, so what we are doing is here you get this bean using user details service, and if you come over here, you're making use of user details service over here. Okay, here you can see, and this user details service is coming in. If you scroll up, okay, where is it coming in from? 1 second. So okay, so it is coming in from this as a parameter. Okay, and it is being injected over here, and it's actually coming in, like we are creating it over here and it's getting injected over here. Okay, and then we are making use of it to create the users. You can see all the encoding, and the logic remains same like we had over here, but just the bean creation and the user insertion is being managed separately. So I'll just get rid of this. Okay, I'll just remove this part over here and I'll run this application now. Let us see how this behaves. All right, you can see the application is running up and fine. You can head over to H2 console, you can connect, and you can see the user creation is done. Okay, you can even clear this and you can check the authorities. Admin is of role admin, user 1 is of role user. This is done. All right, coming back to our code, what we can do is we can come over to Postman, right? So here we had mentioned that if you want to query the API, you need to pass in the authorization header followed by the value should be bearer followed by token, right? Now we need the token first. So what I would do is I'll duplicate this. Okay, we can duplicate this to sign in. Sign in is the API name. Here in terms of auth, I'll say no auth. Okay, so be sure to select no auth over here if you're duplicating. In the body part of the request, I can say raw JSON over here. Okay, and here I can say username, and I can say username as a user 1, and here I can say password as, okay, 1 second. So password is, let me check the password. What was the password that we set? It should be exactly the same one over here. User 1, password 1, admin and admin pass. You can see over here, password 1. Password 1. Let me send this and let us see how this works. Okay, so we are getting 401 unauthorized. Now to check the issue, what I'm going to do is I'll head over to our application. We'll open this and we'll see. So there's an exception here. Okay, let us go to the top. Okay, so you can see over here, cannot set user authentication. So it is JSON web token.io decoding exception, illegal base 64 character exclamation. All right. So if you come over here to application properties, we have the secret over here, which we are using for encoding decoding, right? So I'll get rid of exclamation and any sort of special characters, and I'll also increase its length. Okay. So, or let me not increase the length. Let me just run and let us see what happens. So I just removed the characters which were causing issue, and it's up and running. I'll come back. I'll say send. We get this error again. Let us see what the error is. Is it around the length? Yes. So you can see is of 120. So the specified key byte is 120 bits, which is not secure enough. Okay. So you need to have a long key over here. Okay. And that error related to exclamation is gone. So I'll just type in some random characters, something like this. Okay. You can make a long key and you can run this. Okay. So it's running, and we can come over to Postman now and you can see send. Okay, we are still getting an error. Interesting. Okay, it says get is not supported, which makes sense. We need to switch to post, and I'm sorry about sending get request over here. Post, if you say send, hooray, we have the JWT token over here. You can see. So you can see over here, JWT token, username, and you have the roles over here. So this user has this role. This is something that you know And this is something you're getting in from where? You're getting in from, if you come over here, login request. Okay, so this is a request that you sent, and login response is the response that you got. Okay, this is what is in action over here. Okay, so you can see over here. Okay, and there are some logs over here. Okay, so you can come over here, you can copy this token now. This is your token, or you can say this is your ticket. All right, I'll save this request. I'll go to the other request. Here, I'll add this token. Okay, something like this. Now, if I send this, I'll get 401 unauthorized. Okay, I know why this is coming unauthorized. Okay, but I want you all to understand as well. Now, one thing you need to understand. Okay, I have not enabled logging over here. So you can enable logging to know more about the issue. So if you copy this, what we are doing with this is we are enabling logs for Spring Framework, SQL related logs, security related logs, and even our application related logs. So I can copy this, I can come over here, and in application properties, I can paste this. Okay, this thing, right? And let me run this. Okay, this is running. I'll just clear this logs. Okay, and I'll send this. Okay, now you can see over here you have, okay, you can see authentication filter.java null. Okay, authorization header. Okay, so if you copy this, we are printing this in JWT utils. So if you go to this particular class, we are printing it over here. You can see if you clicked on that, we are printing here, and bearer token is coming in as basic, and this is a token. Okay, so I'll tell you where. So ideally it should not be basic, it should be bearer and your token, right? Bearer and your token. But where is this coming in from? Basic. So if you go to authorization, here we had selected basic auth early on, right? And we are using that same request to add the header. All right. So basic authentication header is being passed in instead of this one. So you need to, so there is no issue with our code. It is issue in the way we are sending in the request or how this postman is set up. So this was early on set up for basic authentication. You need to select this and say no auth. So we don't need any auth over here, right? We need to disable auth, and from header here, you need to send this, and you can see hello is over here. Okay. And if you come now over here, earlier we were getting basic this. If you scroll down, you can see authorization header. Now we are getting bearer and the entire token. Okay. You can disable these logs, like you're printing in token and all, so you can disable them. But you can see how hello has been printed. If you come over here, somewhere we are also printing like what kind of user this is, like what role it has. So you can see auth token filter is printing. If you see here, if you click on this link is printing the authorities of the token. Okay, so here the role from JWT is role user. Okay, so server knows now, okay, this token is being presented to me. This is the user and it has this username, and this is the role. So this is what I need to give it access to. Okay. If you come over here, okay, and let me try to access admin API. If I say send over here, you get unauthorized. And if you check the logs now, let me scroll down. Okay, this is the entire log. Okay, this is the entire log. If you come over here, you can see this is a second request now. Okay, to /admin. If you come down, it says role user, and it's trying to access /admin. You can see auth token filter called for this URI. Okay, and if you come here, you will see an issue somewhere. Okay, you can see here, this is the issue, failed to authorize, right? And it's saying that this particular endpoint, admin endpoint, is the target of class this. Okay, and you can see it has this attribute, has role admin. Okay, now what has happened is because of this, it failed to give it access because it's not allowed to access. You can see unauthorized error, full authentication is required to access this resource. Now you can generate admin token as well. You can come over here, instead of sign in with the user, you can say admin, and you can say admin pass. You can say send. This is the admin token. You can see what the role is. Username is this, role is this. Now you can go to hello. This admin / and you can change the token here. So I've presented a new ticket I'm saying send, and you get hello admin. Okay, so it's working absolutely fine. You can see we have been able to implement JWT in a with amazing learning experience. I would say there were a few changes that we did, okay, during testing, but I think that's fine, and it's a good learning experience so far. Okay, so you can see we have also taken care of making sure that the DTOs are separate, like the request and response objects are separate. We have 3 classes that are helping us do, like one is the filter, like the custom filter, which is auth token filter. We have a helper class, which is JWT utils. We have this class, which is used to handle the unauthorized requests, right? So auth entry point JWT. And then we have the security config, wherein we are configuring JWT to work with our application. So I hope this was useful, and I hope you learned a lot. Okay, this entire thing is a really good learning experience, and I hope you will be able to implement JWT in your real world projects.